In the heart of the ancient city of Benin, Edo State, Nigeria, under the vast and vibrant skies, two sisters, Ifueko and Aisosa, shared a life filled with laughter, love, and a deep-rooted faith. Their home was a haven of warmth, where hymns and prayers mingled with the rich aromas of traditional Nigerian dishes. The girls, though different as day and night, were inseparable, bound by blood and a shared belief in the teachings of Christ. Ifueko the elder was a whirlwind of energy and dreams. Her eyes sparkled with ambition, and her heart yearned for horizons beyond the familiar streets of their neighborhood. Aisosa, younger by 2 years, was a quiet observer, her gentle nature a calming presence in the midst of her sister's restless spirit. She found solace in the pages of her Bible, where stories of faith and miracles filled her with a sense of purpose. Their parents, devout Christians, had instilled in them the values of their faith, love, compassion, and integrity. They nurtured the girls' hearts with stories from the scriptures, teaching them to see the hand of God in every aspect of their lives. Sunday services were a family affair, a time of communal worship and fellowship that anchored their week. Life in Nigeria was not without its challenges, but within the walls of their modest home, the family found strength in each other and in their faith. Yet, as the girls grew, so did their curiosity about the world beyond. The tales of distant lands with opportunities as vast as the oceans whispered to Ifueko in her dreams, igniting a desire for a life less ordinary. Then, one day, an opportunity arose that would change the course of their lives forever. Their father announced that the family would be moving to Canada, a land of promise and possibility. The news sent ripples of excitement and apprehension through the household. For Ifueko, it was the call of destiny. For Aisosa, a journey into the unknown. As they prepared for their journey, the sisters clung to each other, their excitement mingled with a sense of loss. They were leaving behind the only world they had known, stepping out into the vastness of a future unwritten. They promised each other that no matter what lay ahead, they would face it together with their faith as their guiding light. But little did they know, the streets of Canada were paved with challenges unforeseen, and their faith and bond would be tested in ways they could never have imagined. It was the beginning of a journey that would lead them down diverging paths, a journey of faith, temptation, loss, and ultimately redemption.
Childhood in Nigeria. Roots of faith and family. In the ancient city of Benin, Edo State, Nigeria, where history whispers through the walls of the great Oba's palace and the air is thick with the scent of age-old traditions, the lives of Ifueko and Aisosa began. Nestled in a bustling neighborhood, their home stood as a testament to the harmonious blend of deep-rooted cultural heritage and devout Christian faith. Their father, Osohan, a respected teacher, and their mother, Osoria, a nurse, were pillars of strength in their community. They raised their daughters with an unwavering commitment to their Christian faith, interweaving the teachings of the Bible with the rich mix of Benin traditions. Family evenings were often spent reading scriptures and sharing stories from the Bible, coupled with tales of Benin's glorious past. Ifueko, the elder by 3 years, was a vivacious child, her eyes reflecting the boundless energy and curiosity within. She had an innate ability to weave stories, often captivating her younger sister with tales of far-off lands and heroic adventures. Aisosa, with her quiet demeanor and thoughtful eyes, found solace in the stories of the Bible, particularly drawn to the tales of Esther and Ruth, finding in them the strength and resilience she admired. Their home was always filled with music, a mix of hymns and traditional Benin folk songs. Sundays were special, reserved for church and family. Dressed in their finest attire, they would walk to the local church, their voices joining in the chorus of hymns that floated through the neighborhood. Education was a cornerstone of their upbringing. Osohan, with his passion for knowledge, often held impromptu lessons under the shade of the mango tree in their yard, instilling in his daughters a love for learning. Osoria, with her gentle wisdom, taught them the values of compassion, empathy, and the importance of helping those in need. Community life in Benin was vibrant and closely knit. The girls participated in church activities from Sunday school to youth groups, forging strong friendships and a sense of belonging. Festivals and celebrations were a regular part of life, where the streets came alive with colorful parades, traditional dances, and the melodious rhythms of the ekwe and udu drums. However, life in Benin was not without its challenges. Economic uncertainties and stories of opportunities abroad often dominated conversations among adults. The sisters, particularly Ifueko, listened intently to these discussions, their minds swirling with dreams of what lay beyond the shores of Nigeria. As Ifueko and Aisosa grew, so did their understanding of their faith and heritage. They learned to balance the teachings of Christ with the customs and traditions of their people, forming an identity that was deeply rooted in both. This foundation, solidified in the warmth of their family and the rich culture of Benin, prepared them for the journey ahead, a journey that would test their faith, challenge their beliefs, and ultimately shape their destinies. In the bustling heart of Benin City, where ancient traditions met the pulse of modern life, Ifueko and Aisosa grew up under the same roof, but in many ways, in different worlds. The streets they walked were the same, yet they each danced to a different rhythm of life. Ifueko, the elder, was a flame that danced freely, her spirit as vibrant as the marketplaces on a busy day. Her laughter was infectious, her dreams as big as the sky above. She saw life as an adventure, a story yet to be told, and she was its fearless protagonist. Aisosa, in contrast, was the gentle echo to Ifueko's resounding gaiety. She moved through life with a quiet grace, her thoughts deep like the calm waters of the Asi River. Where Ifueko was the sun, bold and bright, Aisosa was the moon, reflective and serene. Their childhood was a shade of shared memories. They played in the narrow, bustling streets of their neighborhood, their games a blend of their personalities, Ifueko's daring escapades and Aisosa's imaginative tales. In these moments, their differences merged into a harmony that only sisters could create. Sunday mornings brought a different kind of bonding. Dressed in their colorful Ankara dresses, they walked to church, their small hands clasped tightly. In the wooden pews, they sat side by side, absorbing the stories of faith and hope. These teachings were the seeds planted in their young hearts, growing roots that would, in time, be tested by storms. As they grew older, Ifueko's fiery spirit sought the horizons beyond their familiar streets, while Aisosa found contentment in the pages of her Bible and the quiet routines of their community. Yet, in the sacred space of their shared room, under the glow of a single lantern, they shared whispers of their hopes and fears. In these hushed conversations, Ifueko's ambitions soared high, speaking of distant lands and grand achievements, while Aisosa shared dreams that were quieter, yet no less profound, of helping, healing, and nurturing. Their bond was a river that flowed through the landscape of their lives, sometimes meandering gently, at times rushing with intensity, but always moving forward. It was this unspoken, unbreakable bond that carried them through the laughter and the tears, through the simplicities of childhood and the complexities that lay ahead. As the years passed, the paths of Ifueko and Aisosa began to diverge, each sister stepping into her own journey, yet forever connected by the invisible threads of sisterhood and faith. Spiritual foundations. The dawn in Benin City brought more than just the sun. It ushered in a chorus of church bells that mingled with the lively sounds of the neighborhood, awakening Ifueko and Aisosa to a new day. Within the walls of their modest home, where faith was as much a part of life as the air they breathed, the girls were raised on a rich diet of prayer, scripture, and devotion. Mornings began with their mother, Osoria, leading them in prayer. Her voice, steady and sincere, filled the small living room as they gave thanks and sought guidance for the day. These moments, though brief, were a daily ritual that rooted the girls in a sense of purpose and belonging that extended beyond their immediate surroundings. The Bible was not just a book in their household, it was a roadmap for life. Osohan, their father, had a way of bringing its stories to life. In the evenings, under the soft glow of the kerosene lamp, he would recount tales of David's bravery, Esther's wisdom, and Jesus' compassion. These stories were not just ancient tales, they were lessons rich with meaning and relevance to their lives. Ifueko and Aisosa listened, rapt, as their father drew parallels between these biblical characters and their own challenges and aspirations. Church was more than a weekly commitment, it was a community and a second home. The sisters were active participants, not just passive attendees. Ifueko, with her natural leadership qualities, often helped organize youth events, while Aisosa found joy in the quieter role of assisting in Sunday school. Their involvement in these activities was not merely a duty but a joyful expression of their faith. Their parents emphasized the importance of living their faith outside the walls of the church. Acts of kindness, honesty in dealings, respect for others, and a humble spirit were qualities that were not just taught but demonstrated in their daily lives. This holistic approach to Christianity shaped Ifueko and Aisosa's worldview, teaching them to see the world through a lens of compassion, integrity, and a deep-seated faith in something greater than themselves. As they grew, this foundation of faith became the bedrock upon which their identities were formed. It guided their decisions, comforted them in times of trouble, and gave them a sense of connection to a larger community of believers. For Ifueko and Aisosa, their Christian upbringing was not just a part of who they were, it was the essence of their being, echoing through every aspect of their lives. Dreams and differences. Foreshadowing change. As the days turned into years in the bustling city of Benin, Ifueko and Aisosa began to carve their own distinct paths, each guided by her unique dreams and aspirations. These emerging differences, subtle at first, gradually became more pronounced, foreshadowing the significant changes and challenges that lay ahead, especially as the prospect of moving to Canada loomed on the horizon. Ifueko, ever the dreamer, had always been fascinated by the world beyond their community. Her eyes would light up with excitement at the mention of distant lands, cultures, and possibilities. She often spent hours poring over books and magazines, her imagination fueled by stories of people and places far away. Her ambitions were as vast as the night sky, filled with stars and endless possibilities. She spoke often of wanting to make a significant mark on the world, to break free from the constraints of the familiar and leap into the unknown. Ifueko's dreams were like a river bursting its banks, eager to flow into new territories. Aisosa, on the other hand, found her dreams in the quieter, more introspective spaces of life. She was deeply rooted in the community and the church, finding fulfillment in the connections she had built over the years. Her aspirations, though no less important, were more centered around helping and healing within her own community. She dreamt of being a beacon of hope and support, much like her mother, who had touched the lives of many through her nursing. Aisosa's dreams were like a garden, carefully tended, flourishing in the warmth of the familiar. The difference in their aspirations became a common theme in their nightly conversations. While Ifueko spoke animatedly about the adventures she hoped to have in Canada, Aisosa expressed a quieter optimism, hoping to find ways to continue her journey of service and faith in this new land. Their father, Osohan, often reminded them that wherever life took them, their values and faith should remain their guiding stars. As the departure date drew closer, a subtle shift began to take place in their dynamic. Ifueko's excitement was tinged with a hint of impatience, a desire to fast forward to the next chapter of her life. Aisosa, meanwhile, seemed to hold on a bit more tightly to the moments, the people, and the memories they were about to leave behind. The impending move to Canada, a land so vastly different from what they knew, brought with it a sense of uncertainty. It was as if they stood at the edge of two worlds, one familiar and comforting, the other unknown and full of promise. This period of transition was a crucible, testing and shaping their dreams, preparing them for the transformative journey that awaited them. It was a time of excitement, apprehension, and introspection, a prelude to the profound changes that would redefine their lives and their relationship as sisters. A family's faith. The role of parents and community. In the fabric of Ifueko and Aisosa's lives, their parents, Osohan and Osoria, were the steadfast threads that held everything together, weaving a strong sense of faith, values, and community into their everyday existence. The influence of their parents and the wider community in Benin City played a pivotal role in shaping not just their beliefs but also the very core of who they were as individuals. Osohan, a teacher by profession, was a man of deep faith and intellect. He had a way of making the Bible come alive, relating its teachings to everyday life in ways that resonated with both Ifueko and Aisosa. His lessons often went beyond the scriptures, encompassing a wide range of topics from history to philosophy. He instilled in them a love for learning and an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. Osohan was also a pillar in the local church, often leading Bible study groups and community outreach programs. His example taught the girls the value of service and the importance of being active members of their faith community. Osoria, a nurse, was the embodiment of compassion and grace. Her days were long and often challenging, yet she always had time for her daughters. She taught them the virtues of kindness, empathy, and the joy of giving. Her stories from the hospital, where she encountered people from all walks of life, were lessons in humanity and humility. Osoria was also involved in the church, particularly in organizing events for the Women's Fellowship and leading health awareness programs. Her dedication to helping others, regardless of their circumstances, was a powerful example for Ifueko and Aisosa. The wider community of Benin City also played a significant role in their upbringing. The girls grew up in a culture where communal living was the norm, where neighbors looked out for each other, and celebrations and challenges were shared. This sense of community was especially evident in their church, a place where everyone knew each other's names and the doors were always open. The church was not just a place of worship but a center for community life, hosting events, supporting the needy, and bringing people together. Celebrations like Christmas and Easter were grand affairs where the whole community came together in a festive spirit, sharing meals, music, and dance. These occasions were opportunities for Ifueko and Aisosa to learn about their culture, participate in traditional dances, and understand the value of community and togetherness. As the family prepared to move to Canada, the community gathered to bid them farewell. It was a poignant reminder of the deep bonds they had formed over the years. The prayers, blessings, and heartfelt wishes they received were not just expressions of love but a reinforcement of the values and faith that had been nurtured within them. This foundation of family and community, enriched with faith and shared values, was the bedrock upon which Ifueko and Aisosa would stand as they stepped into a new world, facing the challenges and embracing the opportunities that awaited them in Canada. It was a testament to the power of a loving family and a supportive community in shaping the lives of its members. Migration to Canada. The news of the impending move to Canada arrived on a balmy evening in Benin City, just as the family gathered for their customary dinner. Osohan, with a mixture of solemnity and excitement, unfolded the letter that would chart a new course for their lives. The words "approved application" shimmered before Ifueko and Aisosa's eyes, igniting a flurry of emotions. For Ifueko, Canada represented a realm of boundless possibilities. Her heart raced with the thought of exploring a land so vastly different from her own. She envisioned bustling cities, diverse cultures, and opportunities that stretched as far as the northern lights. Canada, to her, was a canvas awaiting her vibrant strokes of ambition and adventure. Her dreams that night were a kaleidoscope of skyscrapers, snow, and endless horizons. Aisosa's reaction was a quieter reflection of hope and contemplation. While she shared her sister's excitement, her thoughts were tinged with a sense of solemnity. She wondered about the churches in Canada, how their steeples would look against the skyline, and whether the hymns would resonate with the same warmth as back home. Aisosa dreamt of continuing her spiritual journey in this new land, curious about the ways her faith would adapt and flourish. Osohan and Osoria shared a look of quiet understanding. They knew this move was a leap of faith, an opportunity for better educational and career prospects for the family. Yet, they couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia for the life they were preparing to leave behind. Their discussions late into the night revolved around preserving their cultural heritage and staying true to their religious roots, even in a land miles away from home. In the following days, as the news settled in, friends and extended family members visited, each bringing their own tales of what life in Canada might be like. Some spoke of the harsh winters, others of the multicultural mix that made up Canadian society. The girls listened intently, their minds painting vivid pictures from these narratives. The community's reaction was a mix of congratulations and solemn advice. Elders in the church reminded them to keep their faith strong in a land so different from their own. They spoke of the challenges of maintaining cultural identity in a foreign country and the importance of finding a community of believers. As the days progressed, the reality of their impending journey began to take shape. Canada, a land that once felt like a distant dream, was now a tangible future filled with new adventures, challenges, and the promise of a life unlike any they had known. For Ifueko and Aisosa, it was the beginning of a journey that would not only take them across continents but also through a transformative chapter in their lives. The days leading up to the family's departure from Benin City were a blur of activity, a mix of excitement and heartache as the reality of leaving their home for Canada began to truly set in. In the corners of their once familiar home, stacks of boxes grew like silent monuments to the life they were leaving behind. Each box was filled not just with belongings but with memories: Ifueko's collection of African novels, Aisosa's cherished Bible, photographs that echoed laughter, birthdays, and Christmases past. As they packed, the sisters often paused, holding up trinkets and keepsakes, each sparking a story, a moment frozen in time. Osohan, ever the planner, had taken on the task of organizing the move with a quiet efficiency. Papers were sorted, visas checked and rechecked, flights booked. Amidst the logistical maze, Osoria was the comforting presence, her reassuring words a balm to the bittersweet chaos that enveloped them. The hardest part, however, was the farewells. It was in these moments that the gravity of their move weighed heaviest. Friends and family visited, their faces a mix of joy and sorrow. Laughter mingled with tears as they reminisced and made promises to visit, to write, to remember. Each goodbye was a thread being gently pulled from the mix of their life in Benin, leaving a space that ached with both loss and gratitude. The church community, too, played its part in their farewell. A special service was held, filled with prayers and hymns, a spiritual send-off that was both uplifting and grounding. It was a poignant reminder of the faith that had been their anchor and would continue to be so in the unknown waters of their new life. On their last night, the family sat in their almost empty living room, the echoes of their past life around them. They spoke little, each lost in their thoughts. The room was filled with the ghost of every prayer they had shared, every celebration, every quiet, everyday moment that had made their life here so rich. As dawn broke, casting a golden glow over Benin City, the family locked the door of their home for the last time, their hearts heavy with goodbye but also fluttering with the promise of a new beginning. They were leaving behind much more than a house. They were leaving a part of themselves etched into the very walls of the home that had seen them grow, love, and dream. And so, with their suitcases in hand and a world of memories in their hearts, they stepped out into the cool morning, ready to embark on their journey to Canada, a land of dreams, challenges, and new beginnings. Cultural ties and religious reflections. As the family prepared for their new life in Canada, Osohan and Osoria found themselves deeply contemplating how to maintain the rich cultural heritage and strong religious faith that had always been the cornerstone of their family's identity. Each evening, as they sat amidst boxes and suitcases, the topic of preserving their Nigerian culture and Christian values in a foreign land became a recurring conversation. Osohan would often speak passionately about the importance of remembering their roots. "Our culture is like a river that runs through us, no matter where we go," he would say, reminding Ifueko and Aisosa of the stories, customs, and traditions that had shaped their lives. Osoria, always the nurturer, emphasized the need to keep their faith alive in this new environment. She talked about finding a church in Canada where they could worship and connect with a community of believers. "Our faith is our compass," she would remind her daughters. "It will guide us and keep us grounded even far from home." The family discussed practical ways to stay connected to their heritage. They planned to cook Nigerian dishes, celebrate traditional festivals, and keep in touch with relatives back home through calls and messages. Ifueko and Aisosa were encouraged to share their culture with new friends they would make, to be proud ambassadors of their rich heritage. Religious practices, too, were a topic of thoughtful planning. The family envisioned setting aside time for Bible study and prayer, just as they had done in Benin City. Osohan spoke of the importance of finding a church community in Canada that shared their values and where they could continue to grow in their faith. In the midst of these discussions, Ifueko and Aisosa grappled with their own thoughts about integrating into a new culture while holding onto their own. Ifueko, curious and adaptable, was excited about the idea of meeting people from different backgrounds and sharing her own culture with them. For Aisosa, there was a quiet determination to uphold the religious teachings and values that had always given her life so much meaning. As the day of their departure drew near, these reflections on cultural and religious identity became more poignant. The family realized that while they were leaving their homeland, they were carrying with them a rich legacy that would continue to live and breathe in their daily lives, no matter where they were in the world. This understanding brought them comfort and strength, reinforcing their bond and uniting them in their commitment to preserve their heritage and faith in a new land. Benin to Canada. The journey from Benin City to Canada was more than just a physical relocation. It was a voyage across continents that marked the beginning of a profound transformation for Ifueko, Aisosa, and their parents. Their journey began before dawn under the starlit sky of Benin City as they loaded their carefully packed suitcases into the taxi. The air was thick with a mix of excitement and a palpable sense of loss. As they drove through the sleeping city, each familiar street and landmark seemed to wave a silent goodbye. At the airport, emotions ran high. Osohan and Osoria maintained a composed exterior, offering reassuring smiles to their daughters. However, the tightness in their grips as they held Ifueko and Aisosa's hands spoke volumes of the underlying nervousness they felt. The check-in process and security checks were a blur, each step taking them further from their known world. The flight itself was a novel experience, especially for Ifueko and Aisosa. As the plane ascended, they watched through the window, seeing their homeland shrink away beneath them. Ifueko's face was glued to the window, her eyes wide with wonder and a hint of apprehension at the vast expanse of the world she was about to explore. Aisosa, clutching her Bible close, whispered a prayer, seeking comfort and guidance for the journey ahead. The hours in the air were a time of reflection and anticipation. The family shared quiet conversations, reminiscing about the life they were leaving behind and speculating about the new life awaiting them. Osohan and Osoria took turns to explain the different stages of the journey, trying to prepare their daughters for the changes they were about to encounter. The layover in another country added another layer to their experience. The airport was a bustling hub of different languages, cultures, and people from all corners of the globe. For the first time, the family truly felt the magnitude of their move. The sights, sounds, and smells were all so different from anything they had known back home. As they finally boarded their connecting flight to Canada, a mix of fatigue and nervous energy enveloped them. When they landed and stepped off the plane, they were greeted by a blast of cold air, a stark contrast to the tropical warmth of Nigeria. The airport in Canada was vast and intimidating, yet it held the promise of new beginnings. Navigating through immigration and customs was the final hurdle. The officials' voices were friendly, yet their words were foreign, both in language and context. With each stamp and signature, their new life in Canada was becoming a reality. Stepping out of the airport, the family was met with a sprawling cityscape that was to be their new home. The skyline was a mosaic of towering buildings, and the air carried a different scent, crisp and invigorating. They huddled together, a small unit amidst the vastness, ready to embark on the next chapter of their lives. The journey had been long, both in miles and in the emotional spectrum it spanned. But as they stood there on Canadian soil with their entire lives packed in the suitcases by their side, they realized that this was more than a journey across continents. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a leap into a world of new experiences, challenges, and opportunities. Stepping into a new world. As the family stepped out of the airport and into the Canadian landscape, they were immediately enveloped in a world vastly different from the one they had known. The cool, crisp air of Canada was a stark contrast to the warm, humid breeze of Benin City. Skyscrapers stretched towards the sky, a testament to the urban sprawl and architectural prowess of their new home. The streets were a symphony of unfamiliar sounds, languages, and faces from every corner of the globe. Ifueko's eyes sparkled with curiosity and wonder at this new environment. She was eager to explore, to soak in every detail of this diverse and bustling country. The vibrancy of the city with its blend of cultures and bustling activity was exactly the adventure she had dreamed of. Her mind raced with the possibilities that lay ahead, new people to meet, new experiences to embrace. Aisosa, however, felt a wave of apprehension wash over her as she took in her surroundings. The vastness and unfamiliarity of the city made her feel small and a bit lost. She clung to her faith, silently praying for strength and guidance in this new land. The quiet peace she found in her prayers was a comforting reminder of home. Osohan and Osoria, while optimistic, were not without their concerns. They were acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead: finding a place to live, securing jobs, enrolling the girls in school, and navigating a new social and cultural landscape. The initial excitement of their arrival was tempered by the practical realities of starting over in a foreign country. The family's first few days were a whirlwind of activity. They moved into a temporary accommodation, a small apartment that would be their first home in Canada. The space was modest and unfamiliar, yet it represented a new beginning. They spent their days exploring the neighborhood, locating grocery stores, parks, and other essentials. The simple act of grocery shopping was an adventure in itself, with aisles of unfamiliar foods and labels. One of the most striking contrasts for the family was the diversity of the people they encountered. Canada's multicultural mix was evident everywhere they went, in the streets, in the shops, and in the faces of the people they met. It was both exhilarating and overwhelming to be exposed to so many different cultures and languages. For Ifueko and Aisosa, the experience of starting school was a mix of nervous excitement and a keen sense of being different. They were the new faces, the ones with accents, and while most of their peers were welcoming, they couldn't help but feel a bit like outsiders. Despite the challenges, the family found solace in their faith. They quickly found a local church, which became a source of comfort and community. The church was different from what they were used to in Nigeria, but the core of the message and the warmth of the congregation were familiar. As the days turned into weeks, the initial shock of the new environment gradually gave way to a cautious sense of belonging. The family began to find their rhythm in this new world, learning, adapting, and growing with each new experience. Canada, with all its differences and challenges, was slowly becoming their new home, adjusting to a new reality. In the brisk, bustling heart of their new Canadian city, the family from Benin City found themselves in a world that seemed to spin at a different pace. The cool air was a constant reminder of their new reality, a stark contrast from the warm breezes of home. Each morning, as they stepped out of their modest apartment, the towering buildings seemed to reach into the clouds, a symbol of the dreams and challenges that lay ahead. For Osohan and Osoria, every day was a lesson in adaptation. Osohan, once a respected teacher in Nigeria, now spent his days navigating the intricacies of job hunting in a foreign land, his qualifications and experience seeming to lose their luster in this new world. Osoria, ever the caregiver, found herself learning anew the ropes of healthcare and community services, her nursing background guiding her, yet the differences were stark and numerous. The girls, Ifueko and Aisosa, faced their own battles. School in Canada was a different realm altogether. Ifueko, who had always been quick to make friends, found herself grappling with the subtleties of teenage social dynamics in a culture so different from what she knew. The hallways echoed with a cacophony of languages and styles, and she often felt like an outsider trying to find her place. Aisosa, quieter and more introspective, clung to the familiar comfort of her faith. Yet even this refuge seemed to shift under her feet. The church they attended was welcoming, but the services were different from the vibrant, spirited worship back in Nigeria. She missed the rhythmic drums, the communal singing, and the feeling of being surrounded by a large extended family. Each evening, as the family gathered around their small dining table, they shared stories of their day, the small victories, the puzzling encounters, and the moments of unexpected kindness. These conversations were a patchwork of their individual experiences, a way to make sense of their new world together. In those early days, while the snow outside blanketed the city in white, the family learned the true meaning of resilience. They learned to embrace the unfamiliar, to find joy in the small things, a friendly neighbor, a successfully navigated bus route, a new word learned. Yet, beneath the surface of these daily triumphs, there were undercurrents of longing and uncertainty. They were navigating not just a new city, but a new way of life, each day a step further into their new reality. Ifueko's path. As the days turned into weeks in their new Canadian home, Ifueko found herself slowly immersed in a world vastly different from anything she had known. It was a world where the mosaic of cultures and ideas painted a vibrant, often bewildering picture of life. In school, Ifueko was introduced to a kaleidoscope of worldviews and lifestyles. Her classmates came from varied backgrounds, each carrying their unique stories, beliefs, and ways of seeing the world. Conversations in the hallways and during lunch breaks often revolved around topics that were new and sometimes challenging to her understanding. She heard debates on issues like individualism, freedom of expression, and lifestyles that were in stark contrast to her own conservative upbringing. This exposure to diverse perspectives both intrigued and unsettled Ifueko. Back home, life had revolved around family, church, and community, a tightly woven fabric of shared beliefs and values. Here, she observed her peers expressing their individuality in ways she had never imagined. From their dressing to their outspoken attitudes, everything seemed so different, so unrestrained. Gradually, Ifueko found herself drawn to these new ideas. She was particularly fascinated by the concept of freedom as it was understood in her new environment, the freedom to question, to choose, and to be. She began to experiment with her own expressions of individuality, trying out new styles of clothing and engaging in conversations that would have once seemed taboo. This journey of exploration was not without its inner conflicts. There were moments when Ifueko felt a tug at her conscience, a whisper of the values and teachings she had grown up with. Sunday church services with her family became a reflection of this inner turmoil. As she listened to the sermons and hymns, a part of her yearned for the simplicity and certainty of her faith-based upbringing. Yet, another part of her was captivated by the newness and freedom of her current world. As Ifueko navigated this complex web of influences, her family began to notice subtle changes in her. There were questions she raised at dinner, opinions she expressed that were a departure from their shared beliefs. Osohan and Osoria watched these changes with a mixture of concern and understanding, recognizing the inevitable impact of a new environment on their daughter. For Ifueko, this period was a transformative one. It was a time of self-discovery, of testing the waters beyond the familiar shores of her upbringing. Each day, as she walked the halls of her school and interacted with her peers, she was not just learning about the world around her. She was learning about herself, about the person she was becoming in this new land. Adjusting to a new reality. In the brisk, bustling heart of their new Canadian city, the family from Benin City found themselves in a world that seemed to spin at a different pace. The cool air was a constant reminder of their new reality, a stark contrast from the warm breezes of home. Each morning, as they stepped out of their modest apartment, the towering buildings seemed to reach into the clouds, a symbol of the dreams and challenges that lay ahead. For Osohan and Osoria, every day was a lesson in adaptation. Osohan, once a respected teacher in Nigeria, now spent his days navigating the intricacies of job hunting in a foreign land, his qualifications and experience seeming to lose their luster in this new world. Osoria, ever the caregiver, found herself learning anew the ropes of healthcare and community services, her nursing background guiding her, yet the differences were stark and numerous. The girls, Ifueko and Aisosa, faced their own battles. School in Canada was a different realm altogether. Ifueko, who had always been quick to make friends, found herself grappling with the subtleties of teenage social dynamics in a culture so different from what she knew. The hallways echoed with a cacophony of languages and styles, and she often felt like an outsider trying to find her place. Aisosa, quieter and more introspective, clung to the familiar comfort of her faith. Yet even this refuge seemed to shift under her feet. The church they attended was welcoming, but the services were different from the vibrant, spirited worship back in Nigeria. She missed the rhythmic drums, the communal singing, and the feeling of being surrounded by a large extended family. Each evening, as the family gathered around their small dining table, they shared stories of their day, the small victories, the puzzling encounters, and the moments of unexpected kindness. These conversations were a patchwork of their individual experiences, a way to make sense of their new world together. In those early days, while the snow outside blanketed the city in white, the family learned the true meaning of resilience. They learned to embrace the unfamiliar, to find joy in the small things, a friendly neighbor, a successfully navigated bus route, a new word learned. Yet, beneath the surface of these daily triumphs, there were undercurrents of longing and uncertainty. They were navigating not just a new city, but a new way of life, each day a step further into their new reality. Ifueko's path. As the days turned into weeks in their new Canadian home, Ifueko found herself slowly immersed in a world vastly different from anything she had known. It was a world where the mosaic of cultures and ideas painted a vibrant, often bewildering picture of life. In school, Ifueko was introduced to a kaleidoscope of worldviews and lifestyles. Her classmates came from varied backgrounds, each carrying their unique stories, beliefs, and ways of seeing the world. Conversations in the hallways and during lunch breaks often revolved around topics that were new and sometimes challenging to her understanding. She heard debates on issues like individualism, freedom of expression, and lifestyles that were in stark contrast to her own conservative upbringing. This exposure to diverse perspectives both intrigued and unsettled Ifueko. Back home, life had revolved around family, church, and community, a tightly woven fabric of shared beliefs and values. Here, she observed her peers expressing their individuality in ways she had never imagined. From their dressing to their outspoken attitudes, everything seemed so different, so unrestrained. Gradually, Ifueko found herself drawn to these new ideas. She was particularly fascinated by the concept of freedom as it was understood in her new environment, the freedom to question, to choose, and to be. She began to experiment with her own expressions of individuality, trying out new styles of clothing and engaging in conversations that would have once seemed taboo. This journey of exploration was not without its inner conflicts. There were moments when Ifueko felt a tug at her conscience, a whisper of the values and teachings she had grown up with. Sunday church services with her family became a reflection of this inner turmoil. As she listened to the sermons and hymns, a part of her yearned for the simplicity and certainty of her faith-based upbringing. Yet, another part of her was captivated by the newness and freedom of her current world. As Ifueko navigated this complex web of influences, her family began to notice subtle changes in her. There were questions she raised at dinner, opinions she expressed that were a departure from their shared beliefs. Osohan and Osoria watched these changes with a mixture of concern and understanding, recognizing the inevitable impact of a new environment on their daughter. For Ifueko, this period was a transformative one. It was a time of self-discovery, of testing the waters beyond the familiar shores of her upbringing. Each day, as she walked the halls of her school and interacted with her peers, she was not just learning about the world around her. She was learning about herself, about the person she was becoming in this new land. Family tensions and cultural dissonance. As the family settled into their new Canadian life, the evolving dynamics within their household mirrored the cultural dissonance they were experiencing. The most palpable change was in Ifueko, whose exploration of her new environment led to shifts in her perspectives and behavior, creating ripples of concern and tension within the family. Osohan and Osoria, while supportive of their daughter's need to adapt, were increasingly worried about Ifueko's detachment from the family's values and religious practices. They noticed her growing reluctance to participate in family prayers and her changing attitude towards their Sunday church services. The clothes she chose to wear, the music she listened to, and even the language she used began to reflect the influence of her new social circle, which was so different from what they were accustomed to. This shift in Ifueko was a source of quiet but constant friction, particularly during family discussions. Osohan, who had always encouraged open dialogue, found himself struggling to bridge the gap between his own beliefs and the new ideas his daughter was bringing home. Osoria, with her nurturing approach, tried to maintain harmony, often mediating between Ifueko's enthusiastic assertions of independence and Osohan's attempts to reinforce their cultural and religious heritage. Aisosa, on the other hand, became an unintentional fulcrum in this balance. Her steadfast adherence to the family's traditions and beliefs was often contrasted with Ifueko's evolving views. While Aisosa understood her sister's curiosity and the appeal of the new culture they were immersed in, she also empathized with their parents' concerns. This often put her in a delicate position, trying to support Ifueko without alienating her parents. The cultural dissonance extended beyond the confines of their home. Osohan and Osoria grappled with the broader implications of raising their children in a society whose values sometimes starkly contrasted with their own. Conversations with other immigrant families, interactions at their workplace, and even mundane activities like shopping or attending parent-teacher meetings at school brought to the fore the differences between their Nigerian heritage and Canadian society. In navigating these challenges, the family learned to engage in more open and honest conversations. They shared their feelings, fears, and hopes, trying to understand each other's perspectives. Osoria and Osoria realized the importance of being flexible and adapting some of their approaches while still holding onto the core values they cherished. They encouraged Ifueko and Aisosa to be proud of their heritage while also understanding and respecting the culture of their new home. This period of adjustment, filled with its tensions and challenges, became a crucial phase for the family. It was a time of learning, of stretching their boundaries, and of finding a middle ground where their Nigerian roots could coexist with their new Canadian reality. In this journey, they were not just preserving their identity, they were also expanding it, weaving their past and present into a richer, more diverse mix of life. Ifueko's transformation. Embracing new ideologies. In the bustling heart of her Canadian high school, Ifueko found herself at the crossroads of myriad ideas and beliefs. It was in these hallways, buzzing with the energy of youth and a spectrum of ideologies, where the initial seeds of her transformation were sown. Ifueko's curiosity was piqued in her social studies class, a melting pot of discussions on global issues, human rights, and social justice. The concepts of equality, individual rights, and social activism, central to many woke ideologies, resonated with her. They spoke to a part of her that yearned for broader horizons and a deeper understanding of the world. These ideas, so vivid and compelling, were different from the conservative and communal values she was raised with. In group projects and class debates, Ifueko found her voice growing stronger, her opinions more formed. She began to question traditions and norms she had never thought to challenge before. This newfound perspective was not just confined to the classroom, it spilled over into her conversations at home, sometimes leading to spirited discussions with her parents, particularly her father, Osoria, who was both intrigued and concerned by her changing views. Outside the classroom, Ifueko's interactions with her peers further fueled her shift. Her circle of friends, diverse in their backgrounds and views, exposed her to a range of experiences and lifestyles. They shared stories of their cultural practices, their family dynamics, and their personal beliefs, painting a picture of a world where traditions were not monolithic but a blend of varied, coexisting narratives. Social media also played a significant role in shaping Ifueko's perspectives. Through her screen, she explored global movements, activist groups, and thought leaders who advocated for change and championed progressive causes. The more she delved into this world, the more she felt a sense of belonging to something larger than herself, something that challenged the status quo and advocated for a more inclusive, equitable society. This phase of embracing new ideologies was not without its internal conflicts for Ifueko. She often found herself wrestling with the values instilled in her by her family and her faith. Yet, the appeal of these new ideologies was compelling, offering her a sense of empowerment and a platform to explore her identity in ways she had never done before. As Ifueko navigated this transformative phase, her family watched her evolution with a mix of apprehension and awe. They saw her growing more confident, more questioning, yet drifting from the traditions and beliefs that had been the bedrock of their family. It was a shift that was both inspiring and unsettling, marking the beginning of a new chapter in Ifueko's journey. The allure of independence. Exploring freedom. The newfound sense of independence that Canada offered became a powerful force in Ifueko's life, shaping her worldview and guiding her actions. In the sprawling, diverse landscape of her new home, she found herself drawn to the ideals of personal freedom and self-expression, core tenets of the woke culture that she was increasingly aligning with. Ifueko's exploration of independence was evident in the small, everyday choices she began to make. She experimented with her fashion, trying styles that were a departure from the conservative attire she was accustomed to. These changes were not just about aesthetics, they were a statement of her autonomy and a reflection of her evolving identity. Each new outfit was a step away from the familiar and a step towards asserting her individuality. In conversations with her friends and through her interactions on social media, Ifueko was introduced to diverse narratives about freedom and self-determination. She learned about the importance of standing up for one's beliefs, of challenging societal norms, and of the right to forge one's path. These discussions often left her inspired and sometimes conflicted, as they were at odds with the collective culture and communal values she was raised in. Her growing appreciation for independence also manifested in her aspirations. Ifueko began to dream bigger, setting goals for herself that were driven by her interests and passions rather than expectations set by her family or community. She spoke of a future where she could make a difference, be a voice for change, and live a life that was true to her beliefs. At home, this newfound desire for independence sometimes clashed with her parents' expectations. Where Osohan and Osoria saw value in community and interdependence, Ifueko now saw the allure of self-reliance and personal choice. Dinner conversations often veered into debates, with Ifueko advocating for her newfound views on independence and freedom, challenging the traditional perspectives held by her parents. Yet it wasn't all smooth sailing. Ifueko's journey towards independence was a balancing act, teetering between the excitement of exploring new freedoms and the challenge of staying connected to her roots. She often found herself caught between the comfort of her family's values and the exhilaration of charting her own course. As Ifueko delved deeper into the world of woke culture, embracing its emphasis on personal freedom and independence, she began to carve out a unique space for herself. This space, though filled with the exhilaration of new experiences, also held the complexity of balancing the old with the new, the familiar with the unexplored. It was a journey marked by discovery, growth, and the continuous shaping of her identity in a land that offered endless possibilities. Questioning traditional beliefs. A new perspective. As Ifueko's immersion in her new Canadian environment deepened, so too did her inclination to question the traditional beliefs and values she had been raised with. The exposure to a multitude of viewpoints and ideologies in her school and social life became the catalyst for a significant shift in her perspective. In her world where multiple cultures intersected, Ifueko found herself increasingly questioning the norms and practices she had always taken for granted. The teachings and values that had once seemed unquestionable began to appear less absolute. She started to critically analyze aspects of her upbringing, especially those pertaining to religion, gender roles, and communal living, which had been central to her identity. Classes at school often sparked this introspection. Discussions in history and social studies prompted her to think about the role of religion in society, the nature of belief systems, and the evolution of cultural norms over time. Conversations with her peers, many of whom came from secular or different religious backgrounds, introduced her to alternative ways of thinking about morality, purpose, and life. This journey of questioning was not just intellectual, it was deeply personal. Ifueko began to reevaluate her own beliefs, wrestling with questions about faith, tradition, and identity. She grappled with the guilt that sometimes accompanied these questions, feeling as though she was betraying her family's teachings. Yet, the desire to understand and explore these new perspectives was compelling. Her parents, Osohan and Osoria, observed these changes with a mix of concern and bewilderment. They tried to engage with Ifueko, often attempting to provide context and clarity to the beliefs they held dear. These discussions, while well-intentioned, sometimes led to misunderstandings, highlighting the generational and cultural gap between them. For Ifueko, the process of questioning traditional beliefs was not about outright rejection, but rather a search for a deeper understanding. She was carving out her own belief system, one that incorporated both the wisdom of her upbringing and her new experiences and learnings. This period of introspection and questioning was a crucial part of her growth, a necessary step in forging a path that felt authentic to her in her new environment. Through this journey, Ifueko was not only exploring new ideas, she was also learning to appreciate the complexity of belief systems and the value of viewing the world through multiple lenses. It was a transformative phase, marked by moments of doubt, enlightenment, and a gradual redefining of her worldview. Cultural integration and identity conflict. As Ifueko immersed herself in the diverse culture of Canada, she faced the intricate challenge of melding her deeply ingrained Nigerian heritage with the new, often contrasting values of her Canadian surroundings. This journey was not just a physical relocation but a profound exploration of her identity. The streets of Canada, with their blend of languages, customs, and people, were a far cry from the familiar lanes of Benin City. Ifueko was captivated by this diversity, eagerly absorbing the new experiences around her. She attended cultural events that were a riot of colors and sounds, tasted foods that danced on her palate with unfamiliar flavors, and formed friendships that broadened her understanding of the world. Yet, with each step she took into this new world, Ifueko felt the tether to her roots stretch and strain. The values that had been her guiding stars, community, tradition, and faith, sometimes seemed out of sync with the individualistic ethos around her. She found herself questioning the beliefs she had never thought to question before, wondering where she fit in this kaleidoscope of cultures. The freedom and independence celebrated in her Canadian life were exhilarating, yet they brought with them a sense of dissonance. The individualistic culture encouraged her to prioritize personal choice and self-expression, which clashed with the communal and family-oriented values she was raised with. Navigating this cultural divide, Ifueko felt torn between the desire to embrace her new environment and the loyalty to her heritage. This conflict was most evident in her relationship with her faith. The inclusive and liberal perspectives she encountered at school and in her social circles stood in contrast to the conservative Christian teachings of her upbringing. Church in Canada, while a source of spiritual solace, lacked the familiar fervor and communal warmth of her church back home, leaving her feeling spiritually adrift. Her family, especially her parents, watched this transformation with a blend of concern and understanding. Conversations at home, once simple exchanges, now turned into complex discussions about identity, belief, and tradition. Ifueko's parents, Osohan and Osoria, attempted to bridge the gap, offering wisdom from their own experiences. Yet, these conversations often highlighted the generational divide, deepening Ifueko's sense of being caught between two worlds. In this dance of adaptation, Ifueko was constantly balancing, trying to hold onto the essence of her Nigerian roots while giving herself the freedom to explore and grow in her new Canadian reality. It was a delicate, often confusing process, but one that was integral to forging her unique identity, an identity shaped by the richness of two distinct worlds.
Altered relationships, family and faith. As the days unfolded in their new Canadian life, the transformations within Ifueko began to ripple through her family, subtly altering the dynamics that had once felt so familiar and comfortable. The harmony that had defined their household was now punctuated by moments of discord, underscoring the growing divide between Ifueko's evolving perspectives and her family's traditional values. At the heart of this shift was Ifueko's relationship with her faith. The spirited religious discussions that were once a staple of family time began to take on a different tone. Ifueko, armed with questions and influenced by the diverse viewpoints she encountered outside her home, often challenged the beliefs she had grown up with. Her parents, Osohan and Osoria, faced these questions with a mix of concern and uncertainty, unsure how to guide their daughter through her spiritual quandaries. This tension extended beyond their conversations about faith. Ifueko's new way of dressing, her varied interests, and her growing circle of friends were all reflections of her changing identity, and they sometimes stood in stark contrast to her family's way of life. Osohan and Osoria, while trying to be understanding, couldn't help but feel a sense of loss for the traditions and values they feared were slipping away. Aisosa, ever the peacemaker, found herself in an increasingly challenging position. She empathized with Ifueko's desire to explore and assert her individuality, but she also shared her parents' reverence for their cultural and religious heritage. Aisosa's attempts to mediate often brought temporary respite, but the underlying issues remained, a silent undercurrent in their daily lives. The dinner table, once a place of unity and laughter, became a microcosm of the family's internal struggles. Conversations could swiftly transition from mundane topics to heated debates about cultural norms, personal freedoms, and religious beliefs. During these moments, Ifueko felt a pang of isolation, sensing a widening gap between herself and the family she dearly loved. For Ifueko, this period was marred with inner turmoil. She grappled with guilt over causing distress to her family, yet she also felt an urgent need to follow her path of self-discovery. The freedom and openness she experienced in her Canadian surroundings were exhilarating but brought her into uncharted emotional territory when juxtaposed against her familial ties. In this evolving narrative of their family life, each member grappled with their own sense of loss, understanding, and adaptation. The journey was as much about Ifueko finding her place in the world as it was about her family learning to navigate the delicate balance between holding on and letting go. It was a dance of love, conflict, and growth playing out within the walls of their home as they each strived to find a new equilibrium in their relationships with each other.
Holding on to faith. Aisosa's resilience. In the midst of her family's turbulent transition to life in Canada, Aisosa's commitment to her faith remained a steadfast constant. Amidst the swirl of new experiences, cultural shifts, and the evolving dynamics within her family, her faith stood as an anchor, providing her with a sense of resilience and guidance. Aisosa found solace in her religious practices, which she maintained with a quiet determination. Mornings began with her reading passages from the Bible, seeking wisdom and strength for the day ahead. These moments of quiet reflection were her refuge, a time to connect with her beliefs and find peace amidst the chaos of adapting to a new life. Her unwavering commitment to her faith was evident in her daily actions. In school, while she was respectful of the diverse beliefs and perspectives around her, she never shied away from expressing her own convictions. When discussions in class touched on moral or ethical issues, Aisosa contributed thoughtfully, sharing views shaped by her Christian upbringing. Her classmates, some of whom had limited exposure to religious perspectives, were often intrigued by her views, which opened doors to deeper conversations and mutual understanding. Even as her sister Ifueko began to explore new ideologies and question their family's traditional beliefs, Aisosa's faith did not waver. She watched Ifueko's transformation with a blend of curiosity and concern, but it did not shake her own belief system. If anything, the changes in her sister and the challenges of integrating into a new culture only deepened Aisosa's resolve to hold onto her faith. This resilience, however, did not mean that Aisosa was immune to doubts or questions. There were moments when she pondered the complexities of her faith, especially as she encountered different worldviews and lifestyles. These instances of introspection added depth to her understanding of her beliefs, allowing her to embrace her faith with a more mature and nuanced perspective. In her new Canadian church, Aisosa found a different way of practicing her faith, but the core values and teachings resonated with her deeply. She engaged with the church community, participating in youth groups and volunteer activities. These interactions not only strengthened her faith but also provided a sense of community and belonging in a foreign land. Aisosa's resilience in her faith journey was a quiet yet powerful testament to the strength of her character. In a world where everything was changing, her faith was the one constant she could rely on. It was her guiding light, offering her stability, strength, and a sense of identity as she navigated the myriad challenges of her new life in Canada. A different journey. Aisosa in the midst of change. As Aisosa acclimated to her new life in Canada, her journey unfolded in stark contrast to that of her sister Ifueko. Where Ifueko dove into the sea of change, eagerly embracing the new and unknown, Aisosa treaded these waters with a careful balance, holding tightly to the anchors of her upbringing. Aisosa's days in Canada were marked by a conscientious effort to blend her Nigerian heritage and Christian values with the realities of her new environment. In school, where diversity of thought and background was the norm, she navigated her way with a quiet confidence, often finding herself as the listener in a sea of varying opinions. While she appreciated the broad spectrum of perspectives, she remained thoughtful about integrating these ideas with her own beliefs. Her approach to social interactions was equally measured. Aisosa made friends, but she did so selectively, gravitating towards peers who shared similar values or respected her beliefs. She found joy in simpler things, a shared lunch with a new friend, a quiet conversation about books, or a volunteer activity at school. These moments, though small, were significant in her journey of adapting to her new life. The divergence in the sisters' paths was most evident in their leisure activities and choices. While Ifueko explored the city, attended social gatherings, and experimented with new hobbies, Aisosa preferred spending her free time in more familiar ways. She enjoyed reading, writing in her journal and participating in church activities. Her weekends were often spent with the family, cherishing the routines that brought a sense of normalcy and comfort. Despite her efforts to maintain her cultural and religious identity, Aisosa occasionally felt the pull of the new and unfamiliar world around her. She was intrigued by the freedom and independence her peers enjoyed and sometimes wondered what it would be like to step out of her comfort zone. However, her strong sense of self and commitment to her upbringing always guided her back. In her relationship with Ifueko, Aisosa often played the role of the observer and the confidant. She listened to Ifueko's experiences and thoughts with an open mind, offering advice when asked and support when needed. Though their paths were diverging, the bond between the sisters remained intact, each respecting the other's journey. Aisosa's experience in the midst of change was a testament to her inner strength and clarity of purpose. She was charting a path that was uniquely her own, one that skillfully navigated the complexities of integrating into a new culture while staying true to the essence of her upbringing. Her journey was less about transformation and more about deepening her understanding of herself and the world around her, a journey marked by introspection, resilience, and a steadfast adherence to her values. Challenges in adapting. Balancing two worlds. In the midst of the bustling, eclectic Canadian landscape, Aisosa found herself at a crossroads of identities. Her life in Nigeria, rich with communal bonds and steeped in Christian values, contrasted starkly with the individualistic and secular world she now navigated in Canada. This new chapter was not just about adapting to a different country, it was about reconciling the values she held dear with the new realities surrounding her. Each day in school, Aisosa walked through a corridor of diverse cultures, a vivid illustration of the world's plurality that both intrigued and challenged her. She was drawn to the vibrant expressions of identity around her, yet she often felt an undercurrent of disconnect. The individualism celebrated in this new culture was a stark departure from the interdependent community life she cherished in Nigeria. Balancing her own Nigerian identity in this mix was like finding her rhythm in a new dance, exhilarating yet unfamiliar. Her Christian faith, a guiding force in her life, now faced the complexities of a secular environment. In Nigeria, her faith was a communal experience, an intrinsic part of her everyday life. In Canada, however, it often felt like a solitary journey. Expressing her faith openly became a careful exercise measured against the backdrop of a society where such expressions were more personal, less overt. The evolving dynamics within her family added another layer to her journey. As Ifueko, her sister, embraced new ideologies and cultural norms, Aisosa felt a silent pull to be the keeper of their family's traditions and beliefs. Dinners often turned into subtle battlegrounds of ideology, with Aisosa trying to navigate the delicate balance between her parents' traditional views and Ifueko's emerging perspectives. This role, while filled with love and good intentions, was a tightrope walk between support and self-expression. Seeking a sense of belonging, Aisosa turned to the church. Yet here too she encountered a different world. The church in Canada, while welcoming, had a different approach to worship and community. Finding her place in this new religious setting while staying connected to her Nigerian Christian practices was a journey of faith in itself. Through all these challenges, Aisosa's resilience shone through. She learned to embrace the diversity of her new world while firmly holding onto her roots. Her journey was a quiet testament to her strength as she learned to weave her Nigerian heritage and Christian values into the rich fabric of her Canadian life. In this dance of adaptation, Aisosa was not just surviving, she was learning, growing, and redefining what it meant to stay true to oneself in a world brimming with differences. A pillar of strength. Supporting the family. In the midst of the family's transition to life in Canada, Aisosa emerged as a pillar of strength, her unwavering faith and quiet resolve acting as a beacon of stability. As each member grappled with the challenges of adapting to a new world, Aisosa's steadfastness became a source of comfort and inspiration, particularly for her parents, Osohan and Osoria. Amidst the flurry of change, Aisosa's routine remained anchored in her faith. Her mornings still began with quiet prayers and scripture readings, a practice that lent a sense of normalcy and peace in the otherwise hectic and uncertain days. This dedication to her spiritual life was not just a personal solace, it was also a subtle reminder to her family of the enduring values they shared, a thread of continuity in their uprooted lives. Osoria and Osoria found comfort in Aisosa's resilience. In her, they saw the embodiment of the principles they had strived to instill in their children: faith, integrity, and a sense of responsibility. Her ability to uphold these values, even in the face of new influences and challenges, provided them with a sense of assurance. It was a reassurance that, despite the shifts in their environment and the inevitable changes it brought, the core of their family's identity remained intact. In her interactions with Ifueko, Aisosa played a crucial role. She listened attentively to her sister's experiences and evolving viewpoints, offering guidance when sought and understanding when needed. Her approach was not one of judgment but of empathy and support. For Ifueko, Aisosa was both a confidant and a touchstone to their shared upbringing, helping her navigate her own journey of self-discovery. Aisosa's influence extended beyond the confines of their home. In church and community gatherings, her demeanor and attitude often drew admiration and respect from others. She volunteered for church activities not only as a way to connect with her faith but also to build bridges within their new community. These efforts did not go unnoticed by her parents, who saw in them a reflection of the positive impact of their upbringing. For the family, Aisosa's steadfastness in faith and her gentle yet firm support were like a lighthouse guiding them through the fog of transition. Her presence and approach provided a sense of balance in the family, helping them navigate the complexities of integrating into a new culture while retaining the essence of their heritage. In Aisosa, they found not just a daughter and a sister, but a source of strength and inspiration, a reminder that even in the midst of change, some things, like the values they held dear, remained constant and true. Personal growth and understanding. In the diverse, bustling backdrop of Canada, Aisosa found herself on a transformative journey, one that stretched beyond the physical relocation from Nigeria. Her steadfast adherence to her faith and values amidst the sea of new experiences and challenges became a crucible for personal growth and a deeper understanding of her own identity. As Aisosa attended school and interacted with peers from various backgrounds, her world expanded. She was introduced to a spectrum of worldviews that both intrigued and challenged her. This exposure did not shake her faith, instead it deepened it. She began to explore her beliefs with a new intensity, seeking to understand the intricacies of her faith in a broader context. Her devotion turned into a personal quest for truth, making her faith a more integral and informed part of her life. This journey wasn't without its trials. Balancing her Nigerian heritage with the realities of her new Canadian environment often put her in situations where she had to defend her beliefs. These moments of conflict, though difficult, honed her ability to articulate her faith and values. They taught her the importance of empathy, of understanding others even when their perspectives diverged from her own. Aisosa's resolve also played a pivotal role in her family dynamics. As her sister Ifueko embarked on a path of exploration and change, Aisosa became a rock for her parents, Osoria and Osoria. Her unwavering commitment to the family's traditions and beliefs was a source of comfort to them. Yet, watching Ifueko's transformation, Aisosa learned the delicate art of balancing support with respect for individual choices. Her approach to these family changes was marked by patience and an open heart, traits that only deepened her emotional maturity. Through her experiences, Aisosa's understanding of her identity evolved. She carved out a unique space for herself, one where her Nigerian roots and Christian values melded with the multicultural and pluralistic ethos of Canada. This process of self-discovery was empowering, imbuing her with a newfound confidence and a clearer sense of self. In essence, Aisosa's time in Canada was a journey of growth, marked by a deepening of faith, a broadening of perspective, and a strengthening of character. Her story was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enriching power of embracing one's journey with an open mind and a steadfast heart. First major conflict. A family at crossroads. In the midst of their new life in Canada, Ifueko began to veer off the path that her parents, Osohan and Osoria, had so carefully laid out for her, guided by their Nigerian heritage and strong Christian beliefs. This divergence, which took shape as a series of rebellious actions against her family's traditional values, was a source of deep concern and conflict within the family. Ifueko's exposure to the varied and secular environment of her Canadian school had introduced her to a range of ideologies that stood in stark contrast to the biblical teachings and cultural norms she was raised with. She found herself drawn to these new ideas, which seemed to offer a sense of freedom and self-expression that was different from what she had known. However, this newfound freedom was at odds with the godly principles her family cherished. Her Sundays, once dedicated to worship and fellowship at church, began to shift in focus. Ifueko started to question the need for regular church attendance, opting instead to spend time pursuing other interests. This decision was a significant departure from the family's practice and belief in the sanctity of the Sabbath, causing a rift between her and her parents. The changes in Ifueko's lifestyle extended to her appearance and social activities. She adopted fashion trends and behaviors influenced by her peers, which her parents saw as incongruent with their Christian values. The late-night outings and her involvement in groups that advocated for causes contrary to their faith further deepened the family's concerns. A particularly tense moment arose when Ifueko openly challenged some of the family's long-held cultural and religious beliefs, sparking a heated debate that underscored the growing ideological divide. Her parents, steadfast in their faith and traditions, viewed Ifueko's actions as a move away from the godly upbringing they had strived to provide. They feared that her immersion in the secular aspects of Canadian culture was leading her away from the Christian principles they held dear. Aisosa, witnessing the unfolding tension, remained rooted in the family's traditional values and beliefs. She saw her sister's rebellion not as a mere phase of adaptation but as a concerning departure from the godly path. This period of conflict within the family highlighted the challenges of maintaining their Christian and cultural identity in a society that often prized secularism and individualism over communal and religious values. For Ifueko, what started as an exploration of new ideas and freedoms gradually became a point of contention, distancing her from her family's faith and practices. Her rebellion, influenced by secular ideologies, was a source of sadness and conflict in a family that valued their Christian heritage as the foundation of their lives. Ifueko's rebellion. Ifueko's journey took a decisive turn as she found herself increasingly influenced by new beliefs and perspectives that were in stark contrast to her family's traditional values. This phase of her life, marked by rebellion and a quest for self-identity, brought her into direct conflict with the norms and expectations she had been raised with, leading to a pivotal moment of tension within her family. Immersed in a new culture and surrounded by diverse viewpoints, Ifueko began to question the beliefs and values she had grown up with. Her exploration led her to adopt new ideologies that resonated more with her personal experiences in this new environment. This shift in her beliefs was not just an internal change, it manifested in her actions, choices, and the way she expressed herself. Her family, especially her parents, found it difficult to reconcile with these changes. For them, the traditional values they upheld were not just customs, but a deep-seated part of their identity and heritage. Ifueko's departure from these traditions was seen not just as a phase of youthful rebellion, but as a rejection of the principles they held dear. Tensions escalated as Ifueko began to assert her new beliefs more openly, challenging the family's conventional norms. Discussions around the dinner table turned into debates, and the once harmonious household found itself mired in misunderstandings and conflicts. Ifueko's parents struggled to understand their daughter's perspective, while Ifueko felt increasingly alienated and misunderstood by her family. This period of rebellion reached a climax when Ifueko made a decision that was in complete defiance of her family's expectations. It was a moment that brought the underlying tensions to the surface, forcing both Ifueko and her family to confront the reality of their situation. The conflict with her family was a crucial turning point for Ifueko. It was a period of intense personal struggle, but also one of significant growth and self-discovery. For her family, it was a challenging phase, but one that eventually led to a deeper understanding of the need for empathy, open-mindedness, and the recognition that each individual must find their own path in life. This chapter in Ifueko's life was not just about rebellion. It was a transformative period that reshaped her relationship with her family, her understanding of herself, and set the stage for the remarkable journey she would embark on in the years to come. Aisosa's dilemma. Amid the growing tensions within her family, Aisosa found herself in a delicate and challenging position. As Ifueko began to drift away from the family's Christian values and Nigerian cultural norms, Aisosa stood caught in the middle, torn between her own steadfast beliefs and her desire to support and understand her sister. Aisosa's faith and commitment to the family's traditions remained unshaken in the face of the changing dynamics around her. She understood the importance of upholding the values and teachings that had been the cornerstone of their family life. Yet she also saw the struggle within Ifueko, her sister's quest for identity and belonging in their new country. This understanding led Aisosa to empathize with Ifueko even as she grappled with her own concerns about the path her sister was taking. In moments of family disagreements, Aisosa often found herself trying to mediate. She listened to Ifueko's perspectives, trying to bridge the gap between her and their parents. Aisosa sought to bring a sense of balance to the conversations, highlighting the importance of empathy and understanding even when their viewpoints diverged significantly. However, this role as a mediator was not without its challenges. Aisosa sometimes felt the weight of her parents' expectations to reinforce their shared values and beliefs in the face of Ifueko's rebellion. At the same time, she longed to maintain a close relationship with her sister, fearing that the growing ideological divide could create a lasting rift between them. Aisosa's own faith journey also played a significant role in how she navigated this conflict. Her deep Christian beliefs were a source of guidance and comfort, yet they also made the family's situation more complex. She believed firmly in the principles of love, forgiveness, and understanding, principles that she tried to apply in her interactions with Ifueko. This approach was not always easy, as it sometimes put her at odds with the more direct stance her parents took. In the midst of this familial turmoil, Aisosa's character was tested and strengthened. She learned the difficult art of maintaining her convictions while showing compassion and open-mindedness towards Ifueko's changing views. Her dilemma, caught between her steadfast beliefs and her love for her sister, was a poignant reflection of the challenges many face in balancing personal faith with the love and acceptance of family members who choose different paths. Balancing love and tradition. For Osohan and Osoria, the shift in Ifueko's attitudes and beliefs presented a profound challenge, stirring a deep sense of concern for their family's harmony and the future of their children. Rooted in their strong Nigerian heritage and Christian faith, they found themselves grappling with how to guide their family through these uncharted waters. Their journey in Canada, initially filled with hopes of better opportunities and a new life, had brought with it unforeseen complexities. Watching Ifueko, once so aligned with the family's values, now questioning and even rejecting some of these core principles, was deeply troubling for them. They feared that the secular influences and the culture of individualism in Canada were drawing her away from the godly path they had so diligently tried to set her on. Osohan, traditionally the family's moral compass, struggled to reconcile his daughter's new perspectives with the beliefs he held dear. He had always encouraged open discussions and critical thinking, but the extent of Ifueko's rebellion against their values was something he was unprepared for. His attempts to reiterate the importance of their cultural and religious practices often led to heated debates, widening the gap between him and Ifueko. Osoria's approach was more nurturing but no less fraught with concern. She tried to bridge the growing divide, offering words of understanding and compassion. Her heart ached to see the unity of her family being threatened. She spent sleepless nights praying for guidance, seeking wisdom on how to keep her family rooted in their faith while showing unconditional love and support to her daughters. The couple often found themselves in deep discussions after the girls had retired for the night, pondering where they might have gone wrong. They questioned whether their move to Canada had been a mistake, whether exposing their children to such a vastly different culture was putting them at risk of losing their way. Despite these challenges, Osohan and Osoria's love for their daughters remained unwavering. They recognized that part of their journey in this new land was learning to adapt their parenting to meet the needs of their children in this different cultural context. This realization, though painful, was also a catalyst for their own growth. They began seeking counsel from other immigrant families and their church community, looking for ways to maintain their cultural integrity while giving their daughters the space to grow and find their own paths. This period in their lives was a test of faith and love, a delicate balancing act between holding on to tradition and embracing the changes that came with their new life. It was a journey marked by love, sacrifice, and the continuous pursuit of harmony within their family. Consequences and realizations. The conflict within the family, sparked by the clash of ideologies and Ifueko's departure from her traditional upbringing, reached a crescendo that marked a turning point for each member. This period, fraught with tension and heartache, led to profound consequences and realizations that would reshape the fabric of their family life. For Ifueko, the escalating disagreements with her parents and the growing gap between her and her family culminated in a moment of harsh truth. Her actions, fueled by a desire for independence and exploration, had unintendedly created a rift in the family she deeply loved. The realization of this, coupled with the consequences of her rebellion, began to weigh heavily on her. She started to reflect on her choices and the impact they had on her relationships, especially with her parents. This introspection was the beginning of a subtle shift in her perspective, a dawning understanding of the importance of balance between embracing new ideologies and respecting her family's values. Osohan and Osoria faced their own set of realizations. The conflict with Ifueko was a wake-up call to the challenges of parenting in a multicultural environment, starkly different from their homeland. They recognized that their efforts to maintain their cultural and religious heritage, though well-intentioned, needed to be balanced with understanding and openness. The situation with Ifueko led them to reevaluate their approach, considering ways to bridge the cultural gap while still imparting the values they held dear. Aisosa, who had been caught in the middle, realized the complexity of her role within the family. Her efforts to mediate and maintain peace were crucial, but they also brought to light her own journey of balancing differing viewpoints. This experience strengthened her resolve to be a unifying force in her family, fostering communication and understanding among all members. The aftermath of the conflict brought a period of reflection for the family. It highlighted the need for open dialogue, mutual respect, and a willingness to adapt to each other's evolving perspectives. The realizations that emerged from this challenging situation paved the way for a renewed approach to their family dynamics. It marked the beginning of a healing process where each member started to appreciate the other's views and struggles more deeply. This turning point was a crucial step in the family's journey in Canada. It was a reminder that adapting to a new culture and environment is a continuous process, requiring patience, empathy, and a willingness to grow and change together. The experience, though painful, was instrumental in strengthening their bond, helping them to forge a new path forward, rooted in love and a deeper understanding of each other. Downward spiral. A dangerous curiosity. Ifueko's initial encounter. Ifueko's journey down a perilous path began with a seemingly innocuous encounter. It was a typical Friday evening, and she found herself at a gathering with some friends from school, a new circle she had become a part of since her immersion into different cultural ideologies. The air was filled with the energy of youth and the thrill of freedom, a stark contrast to the structured and sheltered environment she was raised in. As the night progressed, Ifueko was introduced to experiences far removed from her traditional upbringing. Amongst the laughter and music, there were substances being passed around, substances that were all too common in these gatherings but completely foreign and forbidden in her family's world. The peer pressure, coupled with her desire to fit in and be accepted in this new circle, led to a moment of reckoning. One of her friends, with a casualness that belied the seriousness of the act, offered her a drug. Ifueko, who had always been curious and open to new experiences, felt a surge of adrenaline and uncertainty. The knowledge of her family's strict stance against such behaviors warred with her urge to explore this forbidden territory. In a decision that would mark the beginning of her descent, Ifueko succumbed to her curiosity. That first experimentation, a momentary lapse in judgment, seemed harmless at the time. It was an act of rebellion, a statement of her independence, and a step further away from the values she had been raised with. What Ifueko didn't realize then was how this initial encounter with drugs would set the stage for a much darker journey ahead. It was a slippery slope, and with each subsequent encounter, the gravity of her actions seemed to diminish in her eyes. The line between right and wrong blurred, and the thrill of the forbidden took a stronger hold on her. This initial encounter marked a significant departure from Ifueko's past life. It was a step into a world that was in direct conflict with everything her family represented. This moment of dangerous curiosity was the first in a series of choices that would lead Ifueko down a path fraught with risks and shadows, a path that would test her and her family in ways they never imagined. The slippery slope, from experimentation to habit. As Ifueko delved deeper into her new social circle, what began as a one-time act of curiosity soon morphed into a pattern of risk-taking and experimentation. The allure of these forbidden experiences, combined with the desire to assert her independence, led her down a slippery slope from casual experimentation to a more habitual engagement with dangerous behaviors. Initially, Ifueko's encounters with drugs and other risky activities were sporadic, limited to social gatherings and parties. However, as she became more ingrained in this new lifestyle, the frequency of these encounters began to increase. The thrill of defying norms, coupled with the peer validation she received, fueled her actions. It wasn't just about the substances anymore, it was about the identity and sense of belonging they seemed to offer her. Gradually, these dangerous behaviors started to infiltrate her daily life. Ifueko began seeking out these experiences outside the context of social events. What was once a weekend occurrence slowly found its way into her weekdays. The boundaries she had once known and respected started to fade, overshadowed by the lure of her new habits. This progression was not without its internal conflicts. Deep down, Ifueko was aware of the contradiction between her actions and her family's values. There were moments of guilt and self-doubt, flashes of the upbringing she was drifting away from. However, these feelings were often quickly suppressed, overshadowed by the immediate gratification and escape her risky behaviors provided. Her academic performance and engagement in school began to suffer. Ifueko, once a diligent and ambitious student, started to neglect her studies. Deadlines were missed, grades dropped, and her participation in class dwindled. This decline was a clear sign of her descent, yet it went largely unnoticed by her family, who were still grappling with the broader changes in her behavior. The transformation from experimentation to habit marked a troubling phase in Ifueko's life. She was no longer the girl who once held her family's values close. The regular indulgence in these risky behaviors was a stark indication of how far she had strayed from her roots. This phase of her life was a gradual yet steady descent into a world that was in stark contrast to the principles and beliefs she was raised with, a descent that was taking her further away from her family and herself. Lost in the shadows. Entering the world of commercial sex. Ifueko's journey, marked by a steady detachment from her family's values, took a darker turn as she found herself entangled in the world of commercial sex. This descent was not a sudden plunge but rather a gradual slide, fueled by a combination of her risky behaviors, the influence of her new social circle, and a series of choices that led her further away from her upbringing. The path to this point began subtly. Ifueko's regular involvement in the party scene and her increasing dependency on substances had already placed her in precarious situations. In these environments, she met individuals who introduced her to the idea of commercial sex as an easy way to fund her habits and sustain the lifestyle she was becoming accustomed to. The initial suggestion was met with resistance, but as her need for money grew, so did the appeal of the proposition. Her decision to step into this world was a complex mix of desperation, the desire for autonomy, and the distorted belief that this was a way to exercise control over her life. Ifueko convinced herself that this was just another form of rebellion, another step in defining her independence. However, the reality was far from it. This decision marked her entry into a dangerous and exploitative world, one that was a stark contradiction to the values of dignity and respect she was raised with. The risks and consequences of her involvement in commercial sex were severe. It exposed her to physical and emotional harm, and the secretive nature of these activities created a chasm between her and her family. Ifueko found herself living a double life, struggling to maintain a facade of normalcy during her interactions with her family while sinking deeper into a world that was alienating her from everything she once held dear. The impact on her mental and emotional well-being was profound. The guilt and shame associated with her actions weighed heavily on her, yet the cycle of dependency and the influence of her peer group kept her trapped in this lifestyle. Her self-esteem and sense of self-worth eroded, leaving her feeling lost and disconnected not just from her family but also from herself. For Osohan and Osoria, the realization of Ifueko's involvement in such activities was a devastating blow. It was a stark revelation of how far their daughter had strayed from the path they had hoped for her. The pain and disbelief they felt were compounded by a sense of helplessness and guilt, wondering where they might have failed her. Ifueko's descent into the world of commercial sex was a harrowing chapter in her life, marking a period of profound loss, the loss of her connection to her family, her values, and her sense of self. It was a testament to the dangers of losing one's way in the pursuit of independence and the harsh consequences that can arise from straying too far from one's foundational beliefs and principles. A family in turmoil. Reacting to Ifueko's choices. The revelation of Ifueko's descent into the world of commercial sex and substance abuse hit her family like a storm, shattering the fragile balance they had been trying to maintain. This discovery brought the family's simmering tensions and unspoken fears to a devastating climax, throwing them into a state of turmoil. For Osohan and Osoria, the moment they learned of Ifueko's activities was one of profound heartbreak and disbelief. The daughter they thought they knew, the girl they had raised with such care and devotion, seemed to have vanished, replaced by a stranger living a life they could not comprehend. The pain was compounded by a sense of guilt and a barrage of questions. How had they missed the signs? Where had they gone wrong? Could they have prevented this? Their reactions were a mix of anger, sorrow, and fear. Osohan, typically the pillar of strength, struggled to reconcile his feelings of disappointment and frustration with his deep paternal love. He grappled with a sense of failure, questioning his role as a father and protector. Osoria, heartbroken, vacillated between despair and a desperate hope for redemption. Her maternal instincts drove her to reach out to Ifueko to try and bring her back from the brink. Aisosa, caught in the middle of this family crisis, felt a torrent of emotions. She was shocked and saddened by the extent of Ifueko's actions, but her love for her sister remained unwavering. Torn between supporting her parents and reaching out to Ifueko, she found herself in the role of a mediator, trying to keep the lines of communication open in a family that was rapidly fracturing. The impact on the family dynamic was profound. The once close-knit family, bound by love and shared values, now found themselves navigating a landscape of mistrust, confusion, and grief. Dinner tables were silent, conversations strained, and the warmth that once filled their homes seemed to have dimmed. The suspense about Ifueko's fate hung heavily over the family. Would they be able to reach her and bring her back from the destructive path she was on? Could they heal the deep wounds that her actions had caused? The uncertainty of the situation was a heavy burden, casting a shadow over their daily lives. This period was a defining one for the family, marking a stark departure from the unity and understanding they once shared. It was a time of testing, of facing uncomfortable truths, and of grappling with the harsh realities of the choices Ifueko had made. For Osoria, Osoria, and Aisosa, it was a period of reckoning, forcing them to confront the challenges of parenting, the complexities of unconditional love, and the difficult journey of forgiveness and healing. Crossing the point of no return. The deepening crisis. As Ifueko continued down her perilous path, she reached a critical juncture where her actions led her to a point of significant crisis. The choices she had made, driven by a desire for independence but marred by dangerous influences, had spiraled into a situation that threatened to have irreversible consequences. The turning point came one fateful night. Ifueko, increasingly entrenched in her risky lifestyle, found herself in a situation far beyond her control. An encounter that started as just another night of recklessness quickly escalated, leaving her in a vulnerable and dangerous position. This incident was a stark wake-up call, highlighting the grim reality of the world she had become a part of. Simultaneously, her academic life reached a breaking point. Her continuous neglect of her studies, compounded by her erratic behavior, resulted in a confrontation with her school authorities. Faced with the possibility of severe disciplinary action, Ifueko was forced to confront the impact of her choices on her future prospects. Back at home, the family was reeling from the ongoing crisis. Osoria and Osoria, already struggling to cope with the revelations about Ifueko's activities, were confronted with the severity of her situation. The fear of losing their daughter to a path from which there might be no return was a constant and haunting presence. Aisosa, amidst this turmoil, felt a growing sense of helplessness. Her efforts to reach out to Ifueko and support her parents were met with increasing challenges. The family, once a source of strength and unity for her, now seemed fragmented and on the brink of collapse. For Ifueko, this point of crisis was a moment of harsh clarity. The consequences of her actions, once distant and abstract, were now painfully real. The risk to her safety, the potential loss of her academic future, and the heartache she had caused her family culminated in a profound realization of the depth of her descent. The suspense about Ifueko's fate intensified. Would this moment of crisis be a turning point for her? Could she find a way back from the brink, or had she crossed a point of no return? For her family, the situation was a test of their resilience and their ability to hold on to hope in the face of despair. The deepening crisis was not just a pivotal moment for Ifueko but a defining period for the entire family as they grappled with the uncertainty and fear of what the future might hold. Aisosa's challenges. Staying true. Aisosa's faith under test. In the eye of the storm that had engulfed her family, Aisosa found her faith facing its most severe test. The turmoil caused by Ifueko's choices and the resulting family strife challenged Aisosa to find a way to reconcile her steadfast beliefs with the chaos unfolding around her. Aisosa's faith had always been her guiding light, a source of strength and comfort. However, as she witnessed the pain and distress that Ifueko's actions brought into their home, her faith was put under immense strain. She grappled with questions that had no easy answers. How could she reconcile the loving, forgiving aspects of her faith with the feelings of disappointment and frustration she felt towards her sister? How could she maintain her spiritual peace in an environment increasingly filled with conflict and despair? Prayer, which had always brought her solace, now became a refuge where she poured out her fears and sought guidance. Yet, there were moments when even this sanctuary felt clouded with the weight of her family's situation. The once clear lines between right and wrong, faith and action, seemed to blur, leaving Aisosa in a state of inner turmoil. Amidst this, Aisosa also wrestled with feelings of guilt. Was there more she could have done to prevent her sister's descent? This question often haunted her thoughts, adding another layer to her internal struggle. She found herself oscillating between a sense of duty to uphold her family's values and an empathetic understanding of Ifueko's quest for identity. Despite these challenges, Aisosa's core belief in her faith never wavered. Instead, it was her understanding and application of these beliefs that evolved. She began to see her faith not just as a set of rules and doctrines, but as a living, breathing entity that had to be navigated with compassion and wisdom. It was a faith that called for love and understanding even in the face of turmoil and disappointment. This period of her life, though fraught with challenges, became a crucible for Aisosa's spiritual growth. Her journey through the tumultuous times in her family deepened her faith, teaching her the true essence of grace, forgiveness, and unconditional love. It was a painful yet enlightening journey, strengthening her convictions and solidifying her role as a pillar of faith and stability within her family. The weight of dreams. Pursuing personal goals. Amid the turmoil of her family's crisis, Aisosa faced the challenging task of pursuing her own dreams and ambitions. Her aspirations, a blend of academic success and a desire to make a meaningful impact in the world, suddenly seemed more daunting against the backdrop of her sister's descent and the ensuing family strife. Aisosa had always been a dedicated student, driven by a deep-seated ambition to excel academically and eventually embark on a career in medicine. She envisioned herself as a healer, contributing positively to society and embodying the values of service and compassion that were instilled in her. However, as her family's situation deteriorated, the weight of these aspirations grew heavier. Balancing her studies with the emotional labor of the family crisis proved to be an arduous task. Long hours of study were often interrupted by episodes of family conflict or by her own distracted thoughts, concerned for Ifueko and the distress her parents were enduring. The once clear path to her goals now seemed strewn with obstacles as the stability she relied on for her academic pursuits was disrupted. Despite these challenges, Aisosa remained steadfast in her pursuit. She found solace and motivation in her studies, using her academic goals as a beacon of hope and normalcy amidst the chaos. Her dedication to her dream was not just about personal achievement, it was a testament to her resilience and a symbol of her determination to hold onto something positive in a time of negativity. Moreover, Aisosa's ambition to become a doctor took on a new dimension. Her experiences with her family crisis deepened her understanding of human struggles and the importance of empathy and care. This personal growth enriched her aspirations, adding a layer of depth and purpose to her career goals. She began to see her future role not just as a medical professional, but as a healer in a broader sense, someone capable of understanding and addressing the pains of others, having witnessed and experienced them so closely in her own life. The journey of pursuing her dreams amidst her family's difficulties was a balancing act that required immense strength and perseverance. For Aisosa, it was a period of significant personal growth where she learned to navigate adversity, stay focused on her goals, and find strength in her aspirations. Her ability to persist in the face of hardship not only brought her closer to achieving her dreams, but also molded her into a more compassionate, understanding individual, ready to face the challenges of her chosen career with a grounded and empathetic approach. The emotional toll. Balancing concern and self-care. In the midst of her family's unfolding crisis, Aisosa found herself navigating a complex emotional landscape. Her deep concern for Ifueko and her parents, coupled with the turmoil that had enveloped their home, took a significant emotional toll on her. Amidst this, the challenge for Aisosa was not only to care for her family but also to ensure her own mental and emotional well-being. Aisosa's days were marked by a constant undercurrent of worry. The sight of her parents' distress, grappling with Ifueko's choices, weighed heavily on her heart. She found herself constantly oscillating between the role of a supporter for her parents and a confidant for Ifueko, trying to bridge the growing divide in her family. This emotional labor, while born out of love and a sense of responsibility, left little room for her to process her own feelings. The situation with Ifueko was particularly distressing. Aisosa watched her sister, once a source of joy and companionship, drift further into a lifestyle that was alien and worrying. The fear of what might become of Ifueko, coupled with a sense of helplessness, often kept Aisosa up at night, her mind racing with worry and anxiety. Amidst this emotional maelstrom, Aisosa's own needs and well-being often took a backseat. The pressure to maintain her academic performance, her commitment to her future goals, and the daily efforts to support her family left her with little time for self-care. The moments of solitude she once cherished for reflection and prayer became rare, and when they did occur, they were often clouded with concerns about her family. However, as the days passed, Aisosa began to realize the importance of caring for herself. She understood that neglecting her own well-being would only exacerbate the family's challenges. Gradually, she started to carve out moments for self-care, be it through quiet prayer, a walk to clear her mind, or simply allowing herself time to unwind and rest. These small acts of self-preservation became vital in keeping her emotionally grounded. Aisosa also sought support from outside her family. Conversations with a trusted teacher and interactions with her church youth group provided her with a sense of perspective and relief. These engagements offered her a space to voice her feelings without the fear of adding to her family's burdens. The emotional toll of balancing concern for her family with self-care was a profound journey for Aisosa. It taught her the valuable lesson that caring for others also requires taking care of oneself. Her experience underscored the importance of self-compassion and the need to seek support in times of hardship. This period of her life, though fraught with challenges, was instrumental in shaping her into a more resilient and empathetic individual, capable of navigating the complexities of life with grace and strength. Resilience in adversity. Growing amidst struggles. Amidst the struggles and turbulence that had beset her family, Aisosa's journey became one of profound personal growth and resilience. Each challenge she faced, each hurdle she overcame, not only tested her but also fostered a deeper understanding of herself, her faith, and her capacity to endure and thrive in adversity. The trials Aisosa encountered in balancing her family's needs with her own and the emotional turmoil of navigating her sister's crisis became a crucible for her development. The constant juggling act of supporting her parents, reaching out to Ifueko, and maintaining her academic pursuits, while daunting, imbued her with a resilience she had not known before. She learned the art of perseverance, the strength of enduring love, and the importance of hope even in the darkest of times. Aisosa's faith, which had always been a cornerstone of her life, was put to the test during this period. The questions and doubts that arose from her family's situation led her to delve deeper into her beliefs. This exploration was not a mere academic exercise, it was a heartfelt quest for understanding, for meaning in the midst of chaos. Through prayer, reflection, and seeking counsel from her church community, Aisosa found her faith not weakened but strengthened, refined by the fires of her trials. Her growth was not limited to her spiritual life. The emotional challenges she faced taught her invaluable lessons in empathy, understanding, and emotional intelligence. She developed a heightened ability to listen, to truly hear and understand the perspectives and pains of others. This skill was not only pivotal in her dealings with her family but also enriched her interactions with friends and mentors, giving her a depth of character that was both wise and compassionate. Moreover, Aisosa's experiences during this tumultuous time gave her a new perspective on her future. Her aspiration to pursue a career in medicine was now infused with a deeper purpose. She saw her future not just as a profession but as a calling, a way to bring healing and comfort to others who were struggling, much like her own family had. In the face of adversity, Aisosa emerged not as a victim of her circumstances but as a young woman of strength and character. The challenges she faced, while painful, were instrumental in shaping her into an individual ready to face the world with resilience, empathy, and a deep-seated faith. Her journey was a testament to the power of personal growth amidst struggles, highlighting how adversity, while challenging, can also be a profound catalyst for development and strength. Mid-story climax. The breaking point. Ifueko's near-death experience. Ifueko's descent into a perilous lifestyle reached a harrowing climax when she found herself teetering on the edge of life and death. This critical incident, a direct consequence of her risky choices, marked the most severe and eye-opening moment in her troubled journey. The night that led to her near-death experience began like many others in her recent past. Immersed in the fast-paced, hazardous world she had become a part of, Ifueko attended a party that quickly spiraled out of control. What started as an evening of reckless indulgence took a dark turn when she was offered a potent and dangerous substance, much stronger than anything she had encountered before. Caught in the moment and the pressure of her peers, Ifueko succumbed to temptation, ignoring the inner voice that whispered cautions. The effects of the substance were swift and severe. Within hours, what was meant to be a night of escapism transformed into a life-threatening ordeal. Ifueko collapsed, her body unable to cope with the intense effects of the drug. The emergency that ensued was chaotic. Her friends, panicked and fearful of the consequences, rushed her to the hospital. In the sterile, glaring lights of the emergency room, Ifueko lay unconscious, her life hanging by a thread. The doctors worked tirelessly to save her as she teetered between life and death. For Ifueko's family, the news of her hospitalization was a devastating blow. The situation they had feared yet hoped would never materialize was now a grim reality. Osoria and Osoria, accompanied by a distraught Aisosa, rushed to the hospital, their hearts heavy with dread and their minds tormented by questions and what-ifs. As they sat in the hospital waiting room, the gravity of Ifueko's situation sank in. The choices she had made, the life she had been leading, had brought her to this critical and life-threatening point. It was a moment of stark realization for her family, the realization of just how far Ifueko had strayed from the path they had hoped for her and how close they were to losing her. This near-death experience was a significant turning point for Ifueko and her family. It underscored the severity of her situation and the urgent need for change. For Ifueko, it was a wake-up call, a brutal reminder of the consequences of her actions. And for her family, it was a moment of profound reflection, a time to confront the reality of the situation and reassess their approach to helping Ifueko find her way back. Harsh realities. Confronting infertility. In the wake of her near-death experience, Ifueko faced a devastating revelation that would further alter the course of her life. As she began her journey of recovery and reflection, she was confronted with a harsh reality. The consequences of her choices had led to infertility. The news was delivered by her doctor during a follow-up appointment. The years of risky behavior, compounded by her recent health crisis, had taken a significant toll on her body. This revelation of infertility hit Ifueko like a tidal wave, leaving her reeling with a myriad of emotions: shock, grief, anger, and profound sadness. The initial shock gave way to a deep sense of loss. Ifueko grieved for the future she had unknowingly forfeited, mourning the possibilities of motherhood that she had always assumed would be part of her life. The dreams and visions she once harbored of one day having a family of her own now seemed like distant, unattainable fantasies. As she grappled with this new reality, Ifueko also faced a torrent of regret and self-recrimination. She reflected on the decisions she had made, the paths she had chosen, and how they had led her to this point. The weight of her actions and their irreversible consequences bore heavily on her, leading her into a state of introspection and self-evaluation. For her parents, Osoria and Osoria, the news of Ifueko's infertility added another layer of pain to the already difficult situation. They grieved not only for her health and well-being but also for the loss of potential life that had been a part of their hopes for her future. The realization that their daughter's choices had led to such a permanent and life-altering consequence was a bitter pill to swallow. Amidst this turmoil, Aisosa stood by her sister, offering support and empathy. She witnessed Ifueko's struggle with the emotional fallout of her infertility and provided a shoulder to lean on. Aisosa's presence and understanding helped Ifueko to process her emotions and start coming to terms with her new reality. Confronting her infertility was a pivotal moment in Ifueko's life. It forced her to confront the long-term impacts of her lifestyle choices and to acknowledge the need for a significant change in her life's direction. This realization was a crucial step in her journey towards healing and redemption. It marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where Ifueko would have to navigate a future vastly different from what she had once envisioned, armed with a deeper understanding of herself and the consequences of her actions. Family's desperation. The search and rescue. The news of Ifueko's near-death experience and subsequent hospitalization sent shockwaves through her family, igniting a desperate and frantic effort to find her and provide the help she so urgently needed. This period was marked by intense emotions for Osoria, Osoria, and Aisosa as they grappled with the reality of Ifueko's situation and the immediate need to intervene. Upon receiving the distressing news, the family was consumed by a sense of urgency. Osoria and Osoria, filled with a mix of fear and determination, rushed to the hospital, their minds racing with worry and unanswered questions. The drive there was tense, each passing moment an agonizing wait filled with apprehension about Ifueko's condition. Arriving at the hospital, they were confronted with the sight of Ifueko, frail and unconscious, a stark contrast to the vibrant daughter they remembered. The sight was a painful reminder of how serious her situation had become. Osoria and Osoria were overcome with emotions, guilt for not having intervened sooner, anguish over her current state, and a profound fear of losing her. In the days that followed, the family rallied around Ifueko. Aisosa, balancing her own shock and grief, became a pillar of support. She spent hours at the hospital, talking to Ifueko even in her unconscious state, holding her hand and praying for her recovery. Osoria and Osoria, despite their own emotional turmoil, took turns maintaining a constant vigil by her bedside, a testament to their unwavering love and hope for her recovery. The family's efforts extended beyond the hospital room. They sought advice from doctors, inquired about rehabilitation programs, and reached out to support groups. Every action was driven by a singular goal: to help Ifueko recover and to prevent her from slipping back into the destructive patterns that had led to this crisis. This period of search and rescue was a time of intense reflection for the family. It forced them to confront the reality of Ifueko's situation in its entirety, the severity of her lifestyle choices, and the impact on her health and future. The situation also brought to light their own roles in her life, the missed signs, the communication gaps, and the changes they needed to make as a family to support her through her journey to recovery. For Osoria, Osoria, and Aisosa, this was a time of desperation but also of deepening resolve. The crisis brought them closer together, united in their determination to help Ifueko. It was a testament to their strength as a family, their capacity for love and forgiveness, and their unwavering commitment to each other's well-being. A moment of truth. Ifueko's awakening. As Ifueko lay in the hospital, slowly recuperating from her near-death experience, she found herself at a crossroads. This moment of forced stillness became a time of profound introspection and awakening for her. Confronted with the stark realities of her actions and their impact on her life and health, Ifueko began a journey of self-reflection that was both painful and enlightening. In the quiet of her hospital room, away from the influences and distractions of her recent life, Ifueko was left to grapple with the consequences of her choices. The severity of her situation, the brush with death, and the irreversible impact on her health brought a clarity that had been missing in her life for a long time. She began to see the destructive patterns she had fallen into, the gradual erosion of her values, and the distance she had created from her family. As she lay there reflecting on her journey, Ifueko felt a profound sense of regret. Thoughts of her upbringing, the values her parents had instilled in her, and the hopes and dreams she once held came flooding back. She realized how far she had strayed from the person she was brought up to be. The realization of her infertility added another layer of sorrow, a tangible symbol of the cost of her choices. However, amidst the pain and regret, there was also a dawning sense of resolve. Ifueko began to understand that this moment could mark a new beginning, an opportunity to make amends and start on a path of healing and redemption. She recognized the need to take responsibility for her actions and the importance of seeking help to overcome the challenges she faced. This awakening was also a time of reconnection with her faith. The principles and beliefs she had been raised with, which she had pushed to the background of her life, now came to the forefront as a source of comfort and guidance. In her vulnerability, Ifueko found a renewed sense of spirituality, a rekindling of her relationship with God that provided her with strength and hope. For Ifueko, this moment of truth was a turning point. It marked the end of a chapter of recklessness and the beginning of a new journey towards recovery and self-discovery. It was a painful yet necessary awakening, one that set her on a course to reclaim her life, restore her relationships with her family, and rebuild her future on a foundation of renewed values and purpose.
Paths converge. A family reunited in crisis. The crisis that enveloped Ifueko became a pivotal moment not just for her, but for her entire family. It acted as a catalyst, drawing them together in a way that had seemed impossible in the months leading up to it. In the wake of Ifueko's near-death experience and the stark realization of her infertility, the family found themselves at a juncture where their paths, which had diverged so drastically, began to converge once again. In the sterile quietness of the hospital, as Ifueko lay recovering, Osoria, Osoria, and Aisosa found common ground in their shared concern and love for her. The gravity of the situation dissolved the barriers that had been building up over time. The blame, the arguments, and the misunderstandings that had once seemed so significant now paled in comparison to the immediate need to support Ifueko. Osoria and Osoria, who had been grappling with feelings of guilt and helplessness, began to see this crisis as a wake-up call. It prompted them to reassess their approach to parenting, especially in the context of their new life in Canada. They realized the importance of open communication, empathy, and adapting their expectations while still upholding their core values. This situation brought them closer, uniting them in their resolve to help Ifueko heal and to rebuild their family on a foundation of understanding and support. For Aisosa, the crisis reinforced her role as the glue that held the family together. Her steady faith and unwavering support were instrumental in bridging the gap between Ifueko and their parents. She became a source of strength for both her sister and her parents, helping them navigate the complex emotions and decisions that lay ahead. As for Ifueko, the outpouring of love and support from her family in her time of need was a powerful force in her journey of recovery. It reminded her of the unbreakable bond they shared, and the realization that despite her choices, her family was willing to stand by her helped ignite her desire to change. The crisis, while a period of immense difficulty, also became a time of healing and reconciliation. The family's reunion in the face of this crisis marked a significant turning point in their collective journey. It was a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and the resilience of familial bonds. This convergence of paths in a time of crisis laid the groundwork for a new chapter in their lives, one characterized by a deeper understanding, renewed connections, and a collective commitment to navigate the challenges of life together as a united family.
Seeds of change. A catalyst for change. The turning point. Ifueko's journey towards redemption began with a significant incident that served as a profound catalyst for change. This turning point came during her recuperation in the hospital following her near-death experience and the shattering news of her infertility. One quiet, reflective evening, Ifueko received an unexpected visitor. It was a former teacher from her school in Nigeria, Mrs. Aisosa, who had been a mentor and a source of inspiration to her. Mrs. Aisosa, having heard of Ifueko's situation, came to offer support and guidance. The encounter was unexpected, stirring a mix of emotions in Ifueko: surprise, shame, and a glimmer of hope. Their conversation that evening was a pivotal moment for Ifueko. Mrs. Aisosa spoke with a blend of kindness and candor, reflecting on the potential she had always seen in Ifueko and expressing her sadness at the path she had taken. She shared stories of her own struggles and how faith, resilience, and the support of loved ones had helped her overcome them. Mrs. Aisosa's words struck a chord, reminding Ifueko of the dreams and aspirations she once held. This encounter forced Ifueko to confront the reality of her choices and the impact they had not just on herself, but also on those who cared for her. For the first time in a long while, Ifueko allowed herself to fully absorb the gravity of her situation and the pain she had caused her family. Mrs. Adila's visit ignited a spark of self-reflection in Ifueko, prompting her to contemplate the possibility of change and redemption. It was a moment of stark realization for Ifueko, a realization that despite her missteps, it was not too late to turn her life around. Mrs. Adila's visit became the catalyst that Ifueko needed to ignite her desire for redemption. It marked the beginning of her awakening, a newfound determination to reclaim the bright, promising future she had once envisioned for herself. This turning point was more than just a wake-up call. It was a lifeline, pulling Ifueko back from the brink and setting her on a path towards healing, recovery, and ultimately redemption. It was the first step in a journey that would require courage, perseverance, and the support of those who believed in her ability to change her course. Reflections in solitude. Reassessing life choices. In the quiet solitude of her hospital room, Ifueko found herself enveloped in deep reflection. This period of forced isolation became a crucible for a profound reassessment of her life choices. It was a time where the past and present converged, forcing her to confront the reality of her actions and their far-reaching consequences. As she lay there, memories of her past, a mosaic of what was, what could have been, and what had become, played in her mind. She thought of her childhood, filled with the warmth and guidance of her family, and contrasted it with the cold, harsh reality of her current situation. She remembered her dreams and aspirations, once so vivid and promising, now seemingly lost in the maze of her recent choices. The consequences of her actions weighed heavily on her. The near-death experience was a stark reminder of the fragility of life and how close she had come to losing everything. The realization of her infertility was a particularly painful blow, a loss that resonated deeply, filling her with a profound sense of grief and regret. In these moments of solitude, Ifueko grappled with feelings of guilt and remorse. She thought about her parents and Aisosa, the pain and worry she had caused them, and the burden her choices had placed on the family. She reflected on the trust she had broken and the disappointment she had become, not just to her family but to herself. Yet, amidst this introspection, there was also a growing sense of resolve. Ifueko began to understand that while she could not change the past, she had the power to influence her future. She started to envision a path of redemption, a journey to make amends and rebuild her life. This was not a path marked by ease or immediate forgiveness, but one that required a commitment to change and the courage to face the consequences of her actions. These reflections in solitude marked a significant shift in Ifueko's mindset. They were the initial steps in her journey towards healing and transformation. This period of introspection allowed her to acknowledge her mistakes, learn from them, and begin the process of charting a new course, one that aligned more closely with the values she had strayed from and the future she still hoped to reclaim.
Seeking forgiveness. Reconnecting with family. As Ifueko embarked on her journey of healing and redemption, a crucial step was to seek forgiveness from her family. This process of reconnecting and mending the frayed bonds was fraught with emotions and challenges, but it was essential for her and her family's healing. The first attempt at seeking forgiveness came when she was still in the hospital. It was a moment that Ifueko had both yearned for and dreaded. She invited her family to visit, a meeting filled with apprehension. As Osoria, Osoria, and Aisosa entered her room, there was a palpable tension mixed with a sense of cautious hope. Ifueko's heart was heavy with guilt and remorse as she faced her family. She began with a faltering voice, expressing her deep regret for the pain and worry she had caused. She acknowledged her mistakes and the hurt she had inflicted, not just through her recent actions but through the choices she had been making over the past months. For Osoria and Osoria, hearing Ifueko's words of remorse was both painful and relieving. The pain came from seeing the extent of her realization and the toll her actions had taken on her. The relief was in the acknowledgement that their daughter, who they feared was lost to them, was reaching out, yearning for a return to the fold. There were tears, expressions of hurt, but also words of love and hope.
Aisosa, who had been a constant support for both Ifueko and their parents, played a crucial role in this reunion. She helped facilitate the conversation, ensuring that it was a space for healing rather than blame. Her presence and mediation were instrumental in bridging the emotional gap that had developed between Ifueko and their parents. This initial reunion was just the beginning. Ifueko knew that seeking forgiveness was not a one-time act but a continuous process. It involved not just words but also actions that demonstrated her commitment to change. She engaged in open and honest conversations with her family, listening to their concerns and sharing her own struggles and aspirations for the future. For the family, granting forgiveness was a journey as well. It required them to process their own pain and to gradually rebuild trust. They took cautious steps towards re-establishing their relationship with Ifueko, supporting her in her efforts to turn her life around. Ifueko's efforts to seek forgiveness and reconnect with her family marked a turning point in their collective journey. It was a period of emotional reunions, difficult conversations, and the initial steps towards healing and rebuilding their broken relationships. This phase was a testament to the power of forgiveness, the strength of familial bonds, and the capacity for people to grow and change, even in the face of deep-seated challenges. Embracing faith. A spiritual renewal. Ifueko's path to redemption and transformation was significantly marked by a renewed embrace of her faith. This spiritual renewal became a cornerstone of her journey, providing her with the strength, guidance, and hope necessary for her profound personal change. During her time of introspection and recovery, Ifueko found herself gravitating back to the faith she had grown up with but had drifted away from. This reconnection with her spiritual roots was not instantaneous but a gradual process spurred by her recent experiences and the realization of how far she had strayed from her core values. In the quiet moments of reflection, Ifueko began to revisit the teachings and principles that had been instilled in her from a young age. She found solace in prayer, rediscovering it as a source of comfort and a means to seek guidance. The scriptures, which she had once known well but had neglected, now offered her insights and wisdom that resonated deeply with her current situation. This spiritual awakening was also influenced by her interactions with her family, particularly Aisosa, whose unwavering faith had been a pillar of support for the family throughout the crisis. Witnessing Aisosa's steadfastness and the peace it brought her, Ifueko was inspired to rekindle her own spiritual connection. As Ifueko's faith grew stronger, it began to influence her outlook and decisions. She started to view her journey not just as a path to recovery from her past mistakes, but as an opportunity for spiritual growth and enlightenment. Her faith provided her with a framework to understand her experiences, to forgive herself, and to seek forgiveness from others. The church community, which she had once been a part of, played a supportive role in her spiritual renewal. Returning to church initially with trepidation, Ifueko was met with a sense of belonging and understanding. The messages of redemption, grace, and the possibility of a new beginning resonated with her deeply. The support and counsel she received from church members and leaders were instrumental in reinforcing her commitment to her faith and her journey of transformation. Ifueko's embrace of her faith marked a significant shift in her identity and perspective. It was a source of strength that empowered her to face the challenges of her past and to build a new future. This spiritual renewal was a key element of her redemption, guiding her towards a path of healing, positive change, and a deeper understanding of herself and her place in the world. Embracing spiritual counseling. Embarking on her journey to rebuild her life, Ifueko turned to spiritual counseling, recognizing the integral role her faith played in her healing. These sessions with Pastor Tolu became a crucial aspect of her recovery, offering a unique blend of spiritual guidance and practical wisdom. Pastor Tolu, known for his empathetic and insightful approach, created a space of comfort and understanding for Ifueko. Their counseling sessions delved into the spiritual aspects of Ifueko's struggles, addressing her emotional and spiritual turmoil with sensitivity and care. During their meetings, Ifueko engaged with the teachings of her faith that spoke of forgiveness, hope, and the transformative power of grace. Pastor Tolu guided her through relevant scriptures, uncovering stories and passages that resonated with her personal journey. These moments of biblical exploration offered Ifueko solace and strength, reminding her that redemption was always within reach. Beyond the spiritual teachings, Pastor Tolu also worked with Ifueko to establish practical steps for her spiritual growth and well-being. He emphasized the importance of daily prayer, meditation, and active participation in church life. These practices gradually became integral to Ifueko's routine, providing her with a foundation of stability and a constant connection to her faith. A significant aspect of Pastor Tolu's counseling was helping Ifueko rebuild her sense of self-worth and identity. He encouraged her to view herself not as defined by her past mistakes but as a valuable individual with potential and purpose. This shift in self-perception was critical in boosting Ifueko's confidence and altering her outlook on life. Furthermore, Pastor Tolu facilitated critical discussions between Ifueko and her family. These sessions were pivotal in healing the fractures within the family, restoring unity and understanding. Under Pastor Tolu's guidance, the family navigated their complex emotions, paving the way for reconciliation and forgiveness. For Ifueko, the spiritual counseling sessions with Pastor Tolu were transformative. They were not merely appointments but pivotal experiences that nurtured her spirit and guided her on a path to recovery and redemption. The wisdom, support, and compassion she received from Pastor Tolu were instrumental in her journey, reinforcing her determination to forge a life rooted in faith, hope, and newfound purpose. Charting a new path. Steps towards recovery. Ifueko's journey towards recovery and personal transformation unfolded with a series of deliberate and practical steps, each one marking her commitment to charting a new path in her life. Recognizing that her journey required more than just willpower and spiritual renewal, she actively sought out resources and support systems to aid her recovery process. One of the first and most crucial steps she took was to seek professional help. She began attending regular therapy sessions, which provided a safe space for her to unpack the layers of her experiences. These sessions were instrumental in helping her understand the root causes of her risky behaviors. Through therapy, Ifueko explored her emotions, worked on developing coping strategies, and most importantly, started the process of forgiving herself. The guidance and insights offered by her therapist became a cornerstone of her healing journey. Simultaneously, Ifueko recognized the power of shared experiences and community support in her recovery. She joined support groups where she met others who had walked similar paths. These meetings were not just a source of comfort, they were a mirror reflecting her own struggles and triumphs. Sharing her story and listening to others reinforced her belief in the possibility of change and redemption. The sense of solidarity and understanding she found in these groups was a balm to her wounded spirit. Another significant step in Ifueko's journey was her decision to engage in community service. She started volunteering at a local shelter, channeling her energies into helping others. This engagement was not just an act of atonement, it was a means for Ifueko to reconnect with the world in a positive and meaningful way. The act of giving back brought a sense of purpose and fulfillment that she had long missed. It allowed her to step outside of herself, to see the impact of kindness and compassion, and to contribute to something larger than her own experiences. As she navigated through these various avenues of recovery, Ifueko also leaned heavily on her renewed faith. Prayer and participation in church activities became regular aspects of her life. Her faith provided a framework of hope and resilience, continually reminding her of the possibility of a new beginning. Each of these steps, therapy, support groups, community service, and her spiritual practices, wove together to form a blend of recovery for Ifueko. They were pathways that led her out of the shadows of her past and into a space of healing and growth. This period was marked by its challenges, certainly, but also by its victories, both big and small. For Ifueko, charting this new path was about more than just recovering from her past, it was about redefining her future. It was a journey of rediscovering her worth, rebuilding her life, and reclaiming the dreams that had once seemed lost. Through her commitment to this process, Ifueko began to transform not just her circumstances but also herself, emerging stronger, wiser, and more resilient than before. Aisosa's success. Aisosa's scholarly triumphs. As Ifueko navigated the turbulent waters of her own life, Aisosa's journey in academia continued to be a story of unwavering dedication and remarkable achievement. Her scholarly triumphs stood as a testament to her hard work, discipline, and the aspirations she tirelessly pursued. Aisosa's journey through academia was marked by a string of successes. She excelled in her studies, often topping her class and receiving accolades from her professors and peers alike. Her natural aptitude for the sciences, combined with a relentless work ethic, saw her excel in challenging courses and projects. These achievements were not just academic milestones, they were stepping stones towards her dream of a career in medicine. Her excellence in academia was recognized beyond the confines of her university. Aisosa received scholarships and awards acknowledging her academic prowess and potential for future success. These accolades were sources of pride for her family, offering a beacon of positivity amidst the challenges they were facing with Ifueko. One of Aisosa's most significant academic achievements came when she was selected to present her research at a prestigious national conference. Her presentation on innovative approaches to public health challenges was met with acclaim, further cementing her reputation as a rising star in the academic community. This accomplishment was not just a personal triumph, it also highlighted her passion for making a tangible impact in the field of healthcare. For Aisosa, these scholarly triumphs were more than just accolades, they were affirmations of her ability to make a difference through her intellect and dedication. Each success was a step closer to her goal of becoming a doctor, a dream that was steadily becoming a reality. As she continued to excel academically, Aisosa remained a source of inspiration and strength for her family. Her achievements were a reminder of the potential for success and positivity even in difficult times. For Ifueko, witnessing her sister's accomplishments was both a source of pride and a motivating factor in her own journey towards recovery. Aisosa's academic successes thus became intertwined with the narrative of her family, symbolizing hope, resilience, and the rewards of perseverance, the fulfillment of a dream. Aisosa's transition from academia to the medical profession marked the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. Her journey into the medical field was not just a career choice, but a manifestation of her deep-rooted passion for healing and helping others. The culmination of her academic journey came with her graduation, a momentous occasion that was celebrated with mixed emotions by her family. While Ifueko's struggles cast a shadow, Aisosa's achievement also brought a sense of joy and pride to the family. Her graduation was more than an academic milestone, it symbolized resilience and hope in the face of adversity. Armed with her degree and a burning desire to make a difference, Aisosa entered the medical profession with enthusiasm and dedication. Her early experiences in the medical field were both challenging and exhilarating. She quickly learned that the reality of being a doctor involved not just the application of her medical knowledge but also empathy, patience, and resilience, qualities that she had in abundance. Aisosa's initial assignments included rotations in various departments, providing her with a broad exposure to different aspects of medicine. Each rotation was an opportunity for learning and growth, and she approached them with a zeal that was both infectious and inspiring. Her interactions with patients were marked by a genuine care and a desire to understand their experiences and concerns, making her a favorite among them. One of the defining moments early in her career was when she was part of a team that handled a complex emergency case. Aisosa's quick thinking, combined with her medical expertise, played a crucial role in saving a patient's life. This experience was a profound reminder of why she had chosen this path, the ability to make a tangible difference in people's lives. As she settled into her role, Aisosa also began to explore areas of specialization driven by her interest in public health and preventive medicine. She saw this as a way to not only treat individual patients but also contribute to broader health initiatives that could impact communities. Throughout her early career, Aisosa continued to be a source of support for her family, particularly for Ifueko. Her success in the medical field was a beacon of hope for her sister, showcasing the possibilities that lay ahead with dedication and perseverance. Aisosa's embarkation on her medical career was the fruition of not just her dream, but the collective hopes of her family. It was a journey marked by commitment, compassion, and the relentless pursuit of a goal that was deeply intertwined with her personal values and aspirations. Her transition into the medical profession was not just about her growth as a doctor, but also about her evolution as a compassionate and driven individual committed to making a difference in the world. Love and relationships. As Aisosa navigated her burgeoning career in medicine, her personal life blossomed with significant milestones, enriching her journey with the warmth of love and the depth of meaningful relationships. Despite her demanding schedule and the intense nature of her medical profession, Aisosa maintained a close-knit circle of friends. These friendships, forged during her university years and solidified in her early professional life, were more than just social ties. They offered her a network of support and understanding, balancing the rigors of her work life. Her friends, who shared in her joys and challenges, became her confidants, underscoring Aisosa's capacity for deep and empathetic connections. A pivotal chapter in Aisosa's personal life unfolded when she crossed paths with Femi, a fellow medical professional, at a healthcare conference. Their mutual passion for medicine and shared commitment to making a difference in people's lives sparked an immediate connection. Femi was captivated by Aisosa's dedication and warmth, while Aisosa found in him a kindred spirit who understood the intricacies of their demanding careers. Their relationship, which began as a friendship, gradually blossomed into a profound and meaningful romance. Femi became a source of strength and support for Aisosa, offering understanding and encouragement that was deeply rooted in their shared experiences and goals. Their bond was characterized by mutual respect, shared aspirations, and a deep understanding of each other's lives. One of the most significant moments for Aisosa came when Femi proposed to her. It was a heartfelt and sincere gesture that symbolized their love and commitment to building a future together. The proposal brought immense joy to Aisosa and her family, serving as a beacon of happiness and hope amidst the challenges they were facing with Ifueko. The evolution of Aisosa's relationship with Femi and the unwavering support of her friends added a rich dimension to her narrative. These personal developments were not just milestones in her life's journey, but also reflections of her ability to forge and nurture lasting, meaningful relationships. Her romance with Femi and the strength she drew from her friendships provided a counterbalance to her demanding career, showcasing the multifaceted nature of her life that encompassed professional success, enduring personal bonds, and the powerful influence of love and companionship. Balancing professional and personal life. As Aisosa progressed in her medical career and navigated the joys and complexities of her personal life, she faced the challenge of balancing these demanding aspects of her world. Striking a healthy work-life balance became an essential skill for her, ensuring she could thrive both as a medical professional and in her personal relationships. Aisosa's days were often long and demanding, filled with the pressures and responsibilities that come with a career in medicine. Her commitment to her patients and her profession was unwavering, but she was equally determined not to let her work consume her entire life. She recognized early on that in order to be the best doctor she could be, she needed to take care of her own well-being. One of the key ways Aisosa maintained this balance was through careful time management. She became adept at organizing her schedule, ensuring she set aside time for both her professional responsibilities and her personal interests. This often meant being disciplined about her work hours where possible and making sure she had time to unwind and relax. Her relationship with Femi played a significant role in helping her maintain this balance. Given their shared profession, they understood the demands and stresses of each other's careers. They supported each other's ambitions while making sure they made time for their relationship. Their shared meals, walks in the park, and quiet evenings together became cherished moments that helped them disconnect from the pressures of work. Aisosa also ensured that she stayed connected with her friends and family. Regular catch-ups, whether through calls, messages, or meetups, were a priority. These interactions were not just social obligations, they were a source of joy and a reminder of the world beyond her professional life. Furthermore, Aisosa's faith and involvement in church activities provided a grounding influence in her life. Her spiritual practices, such as prayer and meditation, offered her moments of reflection and peace, helping her stay centered amid her busy routine. The challenges of her sister Ifueko's journey also put Aisosa's balancing skills to the test. She provided support to her sister and parents, playing an instrumental role in Ifueko's path to recovery. This often required her to be flexible and patient, juggling her professional duties with her family commitments. Balancing her professional and personal life was an ongoing process for Aisosa, one that required constant adjustment and reflection. Yet, she managed it with grace and resilience, understanding that both aspects were crucial to her happiness and fulfillment. Her ability to maintain this equilibrium was a testament to her strength of character and her commitment to living a well-rounded, fulfilling life. A sister's unwavering love? Throughout Ifueko's tumultuous journey to redemption, Aisosa remained a pillar of unwavering support, her actions embodying the depth and resilience of the bond between the sisters. Aisosa's continual support played a crucial role in Ifueko's recovery, exemplifying the strength of familial love and the impact it can have on healing and transformation. Aisosa's support for Ifueko was multifaceted. She was a constant presence in Ifueko's life, offering emotional support, guidance, and, when needed, a listening ear. Aisosa understood that recovery was not a linear process, it involved setbacks and challenges. She approached each of these with patience and empathy, helping Ifueko navigate the complex emotions and hurdles she faced. One of the key ways Aisosa supported Ifueko was by encouraging her in her efforts to seek professional help and engage in therapy. Aisosa often accompanied Ifueko to her appointments, providing moral support and reinforcing the importance of this step in her healing process. She also helped Ifueko connect with support groups, understanding the value of shared experiences in recovery. Moreover, Aisosa's own achievements and balanced approach to life served as an inspiration to Ifueko. Witnessing Aisosa's success in her medical career and her ability to maintain healthy relationships and personal well-being provided Ifueko with a tangible example of what was possible with dedication and perseverance. Aisosa's accomplishments were not a source of envy for Ifueko but a beacon of hope and motivation. Their sisterly bond was further strengthened as Aisosa actively involved Ifueko in various aspects of her life. She included Ifueko in social gatherings, family events, and simple everyday activities. These moments were instrumental in helping Ifueko reintegrate into social settings and regain a sense of normalcy in her life. In moments of doubt or when Ifueko's resolve wavered, Aisosa was there to remind her of her strengths and the progress she had made. She celebrated each of Ifueko's achievements, no matter how small, understanding that each step forward was a victory in itself. Aisosa also played a crucial role in bridging the gap between Ifueko and their parents. She facilitated open and honest discussions within the family, promoting understanding and forgiveness. Her mediation helped heal the family wounds and fostered a supportive environment conducive to Ifueko's recovery. Aisosa's unwavering love and support for Ifueko were foundational in her sister's journey towards redemption. It was a testament to the power of sibling bonds and the profound impact they can have on one's life. Aisosa's role in Ifueko's recovery journey highlighted the importance of compassion, patience, and unwavering support in the face of life's challenges. Ifueko's new purpose. Conceiving the orphanage idea. The seed for the orphanage idea was planted in Ifueko's mind during a period of deep reflection and transformation. As she navigated the path of recovery and healing, she began to contemplate ways in which she could channel her experiences into something positive and meaningful. The idea of establishing an orphanage emerged as a beacon of hope and purpose, a way to redefine her life's narrative from one of despair to one of giving and compassion. Ifueko's personal journey, especially her struggle with infertility, played a significant role in shaping this vision. The realization that she would not be able to have children of her own brought a profound sense of loss, but it also opened her eyes to the plight of children who were deprived of the familial love and care that she had once taken for granted. This empathy towards children in need became the driving force behind her desire to start an orphanage. The concept of the orphanage was not just about providing shelter and basic needs. Ifueko envisioned it as a sanctuary where children could receive love, support, and opportunities to thrive. She wanted to create a place where children could grow in a nurturing and empowering environment, something she now recognized as invaluable. Drawing inspiration from her own life story, Ifueko began to lay the groundwork for her project. She spent hours researching, planning, and brainstorming the ways in which she could make this dream a reality. The orphanage, in her vision, would be more than just a home. It would be a center of hope and transformation, both for the children it would serve and for herself. As she embarked on this journey, Ifueko found a renewed sense of purpose. The pain and challenges of her past, rather than holding her back, became the catalyst for this new chapter in her life. The idea of the orphanage became a testament to her resilience and her ability to transform her experiences into a force for good. It was the genesis of a vision that promised to redefine her identity and her contribution to the world, turning pain into purpose. Ifueko's journey to establish the orphanage was as much about helping others as it was about healing herself. Confronting her past and the realization of her infertility, she channeled her pain and experiences into a fervent mission to help children in need, transforming her personal struggles into a purposeful drive for change. The pain of her past, once a source of endless turmoil, began to take on a different meaning as Ifueko immersed herself in the project. Her own experiences with loss, regret, and recovery became the foundation upon which she built her vision for the orphanage. She understood deeply the feeling of being lost, of needing a guiding hand, and this empathy became the driving force behind her dedication to the cause. Ifueko's infertility, a revelation that had once threatened to break her spirit, gradually became a source of motivation. She saw in it an opportunity to extend her maternal love to children who were orphaned or abandoned. The longing she had once harbored for her own children transformed into a broader, more inclusive love, a desire to provide care and support for many children who were in desperate need of it. This shift in perspective was not easy. It required Ifueko to confront and make peace with her deepest wounds. There were moments of doubt and grief, times when the weight of what she had lost seemed to overshadow her efforts. But each time she found the strength to turn back to her purpose, to remind herself that in helping these children, she was also giving a new meaning to her own experiences. As Ifueko delved deeper into the process of establishing the orphanage, she found that her past experiences equipped her with unique insights. She understood the importance of creating a nurturing environment, one that could offer the children not just physical care, but also emotional and psychological support, a sanctuary where they could heal and grow, much like she was healing and growing herself. In transforming her pain into purpose, Ifueko began to see a change in herself. The feelings of emptiness and loss began to give way to a sense of fulfillment and hope. With each step she took towards making the orphanage a reality, she was not only building a home for children in need but was also reconstructing her own life, infusing it with new meaning, direction, and a profound sense of purpose. Laying the foundations. As Ifueko embarked on the formidable journey of establishing her orphanage, each step she took was a blend of determination, meticulous planning, and heartfelt dedication. Turning this dream into reality was a complex endeavor that required both practical acumen and a deep sense of commitment. The initial challenge was funding. Ifueko started by setting aside a portion of her own savings, a testament to her personal investment in the project. Recognizing the need for more substantial financial support, she reached out to the community, organized fundraising events, and applied for grants. Her story, imbued with a clear vision and genuine passion, resonated with many, gradually drawing the necessary funds to her cause. Finding the perfect location for the orphanage was another crucial step. After visiting numerous potential sites, Ifueko finally found a building that matched her vision. It was a spacious, welcoming place nestled in a safe neighborhood with ample outdoor space for children to play and connect with nature, a place that could truly feel like home. Navigating the legal and logistical challenges was a task that tested her resolve. Ifueko meticulously worked through the legalities, ensuring compliance with all child welfare laws and safety regulations. She also undertook the logistics of refurbishing the building, turning it into a suitable living space, and setting up the administrative backbone of the orphanage. Building a capable and dedicated team was essential. Ifueko carefully selected individuals who not only possessed the necessary skills but also shared her passion for changing children's lives. From caregivers and educators to administrative staff and volunteers, she assembled a team united by a common goal to make a difference. Beyond just providing shelter and care, Ifueko was committed to offering a holistic environment for the children's development. She developed educational programs, set up psychological support systems, and organized extracurricular activities. Collaborations with local schools, counselors, and organizations were forged to ensure the children had access to a wide range of opportunities and support. Community engagement was key in this journey. Ifueko actively involved the local community, understanding that their support was crucial for the orphanage's success and sustainability. Through community meetings, events, and regular communication, she cultivated a sense of partnership and belonging with the local residents. Establishing the orphanage was more than just a project for Ifueko, it was a labor of love born out of her own transformation and desire to give back. Each step forward, from securing funds to opening the orphanage's doors, was a testament to her resilience and a reflection of her new purpose in life. This endeavor, rooted in her personal struggles, had blossomed into a beacon of hope and opportunity, not just for Ifueko but for many children in need of care, love, and a place to call home. Community engagement and support. Ifueko's journey in establishing the orphanage was not just a personal mission, it evolved into a community endeavor. Recognizing the importance of local support and collaboration, she embarked on building bridges with the community, fostering networks that were instrumental in bringing her vision to fruition. Her approach to community engagement was grounded in openness and inclusivity. She started by organizing community meetings where she shared her vision for the orphanage and invited input and suggestions. These meetings were not just about disseminating information, they were platforms for dialogue where community members could voice their thoughts, concerns, and offer support. This approach helped Ifueko build trust and a sense of collective ownership among the locals. Recognizing the power of collaboration, Ifueko reached out to local businesses, schools, and organizations. She sought partnerships that could provide resources, expertise, and services beneficial to the orphanage. Local businesses contributed by donating supplies and materials, while schools offered educational support and involvement in children's academic needs. Nonprofits and social service agencies provided guidance on child care and welfare, ensuring that the orphanage's operations met the highest standards of care. Volunteerism became a cornerstone of the orphanage's foundation. Ifueko encouraged community members to get involved in various capacities, from helping with the renovation of the building to organizing events and activities for the children. This call to action saw a heartwarming response, with individuals from all walks of life stepping forward to contribute their time and skills. The volunteer program not only aided the orphanage's development but also fostered a strong community bond. Ifueko also made it a point to keep the community updated on the progress of the orphanage. Regular newsletters, social media updates, and community gatherings were used to share developments, celebrate milestones, and acknowledge the contributions of everyone involved. This transparency and recognition of community efforts solidified the support and goodwill for the orphanage. In her quest to build bridges, Ifueko also tapped into local media to spread the word and garner broader support. Interviews and feature articles highlighted the purpose and progress of the orphanage, drawing attention and support from beyond the immediate community. Through these efforts, Ifueko not only built a support network essential for the orphanage's success but also created a sense of community spirit and unity. The orphanage project, under her guidance, became a symbol of communal effort and goodwill, illustrating how collective action and empathy can lead to meaningful and impactful results. The community's involvement and support were not just contributions to a cause but were integral to the very essence and success of the orphanage, reflecting a shared commitment to caring for those in need. Laying the foundations. As Ifueko embarked on the formidable journey of establishing her orphanage, each step she took was a blend of determination, meticulous planning, and heartfelt dedication. Turning this dream into reality was a complex endeavor that required both practical acumen and a deep sense of commitment. The initial challenge was funding. Ifueko started by setting aside a portion of her own savings, a testament to her personal investment in the project. Recognizing the need for more substantial financial support, she reached out to the community, organized fundraising events, and applied for grants. Her story, imbued with a clear vision and genuine passion, resonated with many, gradually drawing the necessary funds to her cause. Finding the perfect location for the orphanage was another crucial step. After visiting numerous potential sites, Ifueko finally found a building that matched her vision. It was a spacious, welcoming place nestled in a safe neighborhood with ample outdoor space for children to play and connect with nature, a place that could truly feel like home. Navigating the legal and logistical challenges was a task that tested her resolve. Ifueko meticulously worked through the legalities, ensuring compliance with all child welfare laws and safety regulations. She also undertook the logistics of refurbishing the building, turning it into a suitable living space, and setting up the administrative backbone of the orphanage. Building a capable and dedicated team was essential. Ifueko carefully selected individuals who not only possessed the necessary skills but also shared her passion for changing children's lives. From caregivers and educators to administrative staff and volunteers, she assembled a team united by a common goal to make a difference. Beyond just providing shelter and care, Ifueko was committed to offering a holistic environment for the children's development. She developed educational programs, set up psychological support systems, and organized extracurricular activities. Collaborations with local schools, counselors, and organizations were forged to ensure the children had access to a wide range of opportunities and support. Community engagement was key in this journey. Ifueko actively involved the local community, understanding that their support was crucial for the orphanage's success and sustainability. Through community meetings, events, and regular communication, she cultivated a sense of partnership and belonging with the local residents. Establishing the orphanage was more than just a project for Ifueko, it was a labor of love born out of her own transformation and desire to give back. Each step forward, from securing funds to opening the orphanage's doors, was a testament to her resilience and a reflection of her new purpose in life. This endeavor, rooted in her personal struggles, had blossomed into a beacon of hope and opportunity, not just for Ifueko but for many children in need of care, love, and a place to call home. Community engagement and support. Ifueko's journey in establishing the orphanage was not just a personal mission, it evolved into a community endeavor. Recognizing the importance of local support and collaboration, she embarked on building bridges with the community, fostering networks that were instrumental in bringing her vision to fruition. Her approach to community engagement was grounded in openness and inclusivity. She started by organizing community meetings where she shared her vision for the orphanage and invited input and suggestions. These meetings were not just about disseminating information, they were platforms for dialogue where community members could voice their thoughts, concerns, and offer support. This approach helped Ifueko build trust and a sense of collective ownership among the locals. Recognizing the power of collaboration, Ifueko reached out to local businesses, schools, and organizations. She sought partnerships that could provide resources, expertise, and services beneficial to the orphanage. Local businesses contributed by donating supplies and materials, while schools offered educational support and involvement in children's academic needs. Nonprofits and social service agencies provided guidance on child care and welfare, ensuring that the orphanage's operations met the highest standards of care. Volunteerism became a cornerstone of the orphanage's foundation. Ifueko encouraged community members to get involved in various capacities, from helping with the renovation of the building to organizing events and activities for the children. This call to action saw a heartwarming response, with individuals from all walks of life stepping forward to contribute their time and skills. The volunteer program not only aided the orphanage's development but also fostered a strong community bond. Ifueko also made it a point to keep the community updated on the progress of the orphanage. Regular newsletters, social media updates, and community gatherings were used to share developments, celebrate milestones, and acknowledge the contributions of everyone involved. This transparency and recognition of community efforts solidified the support and goodwill for the orphanage. In her quest to build bridges, Ifueko also tapped into local media to spread the word and garner broader support. Interviews and feature articles highlighted the purpose and progress of the orphanage, drawing attention and support from beyond the immediate community. Through these efforts, Ifueko not only built a support network essential for the orphanage's success but also created a sense of community spirit and unity. The orphanage project, under her guidance, became a symbol of communal effort and goodwill, illustrating how collective action and empathy can lead to meaningful and impactful results. The community's involvement and support were not just contributions to a cause but were integral to the very essence and success of the orphanage, reflecting a shared commitment to caring for those in need. Public speaking initiatives. Stepping into public speaking. Ifueko's decision to step into the realm of public speaking was a pivotal moment in her journey, marking a transition from introspection to sharing her story with the world. This decision was fueled by a desire to turn her experiences into a source of inspiration for others. The idea of becoming a public speaker was initially daunting to Ifueko. She had always been a private person, and the thought of laying bare her past struggles and vulnerabilities to an audience was intimidating. However, the more she reflected on her journey, the more she realized the power her story could wield in helping others facing similar challenges. Motivated by this realization, Ifueko began to prepare for her new role. She started by jotting down her thoughts and experiences, turning them into a narrative that was both honest and compelling. She practiced recounting her story, first in front of a mirror, then to a small circle of friends and family, including Aisosa, who provided her with feedback and support. To refine her speaking skills, Ifueko enrolled in a public speaking workshop. Here, she learned the nuances of effective communication, how to engage an audience, how to convey emotions through her words, and how to handle nervousness. These sessions were instrumental in building her confidence and honing her ability to deliver her message effectively. Ifueko also sought guidance from individuals who had experience in public speaking, particularly those who used their platforms for advocacy and inspirational purposes. These mentors provided her with invaluable insights into the art of public speaking and helped her understand the impact her words could have. As she prepared for her first public speaking engagement, Ifueko felt a mix of nerves and excitement. She was about to share her story, a tale of mistakes, learning, redemption, and hope with the world. This step was not just about finding her voice as a speaker, it was about using that voice to make a difference, to connect with others through shared experiences, and to offer hope to those who might be struggling in silence. This foray into public speaking was a significant step for Ifueko. It marked her transformation from a person who had once felt lost and voiceless to one who stood ready to share her story, to inspire change and bring encouragement to others. It was a testament to her growth, her resilience, and her commitment to using her experiences for a greater good. The first address. Ifueko's first public speaking engagement was a moment charged with emotion and significance. It represented not only her personal journey of transformation but also her first step in breaking the silence about her past and reaching out to help others. The venue for her maiden address was a local community center where a small but attentive audience had gathered. They were a mix of individuals from various walks of life, some struggling with their own personal battles, others there to support friends or simply to listen and learn. As Ifueko stepped onto the stage, a wave of nervousness washed over her. The bright lights of the auditorium seemed to cast a spotlight on her vulnerabilities, reminding her of the gravity of what she was about to do. But as she looked out into the audience, she saw faces filled with anticipation and empathy, which provided her with a surge of courage. She began her address with a moment of silence, gathering her thoughts before diving into her story. She spoke about her childhood in Nigeria, the move to Canada, the challenges she faced adapting to a new culture, and the series of choices that led her down a path of self-destruction. She talked about the pain of her near-death experience, the heartbreak of her infertility, and the profound impact these had on her life. As she recounted her journey, her voice grew stronger, more confident. She spoke candidly about her struggles, not shying away from the details of her lowest points. But intertwined with the narrative of her challenges was a message of hope and resilience. She emphasized the importance of seeking help, the power of redemption, and the possibility of turning one's life around, no matter how bleak the situation might seem. The impact of Ifueko's address was palpable. You could see it in the nodding heads, the teary eyes, and the rapt attention of the audience. Her story resonated with many in the room, offering them a mirror of their own struggles or those of their loved ones. By the end of her speech, the room was enveloped in a mixture of solemnity and inspiration. People approached Ifueko, sharing their own stories, expressing gratitude for her courage in sharing hers and discussing the impact her words had on them. It was clear that Ifueko's address had struck a chord, providing a sense of solidarity and hope to those who needed it most. This first public speaking engagement was a breakthrough for Ifueko. It marked the beginning of her journey as a beacon of hope and a voice for resilience. The experience was not just about sharing her story, it was about using her past to light a path for others, to break the silence around struggle and recovery, and to show that there is power in vulnerability and strength in overcoming adversity. Expanding her reach. As Ifueko's journey as a public speaker unfolded, her story and its message began to reach far beyond the walls of the local community center. With each new audience and venue, her narrative wove its way into the hearts and minds of a diverse array of people, touching lives in ways she had never imagined. Her engagements took her to various settings, each offering a new canvas on which to paint her story. In schools and universities, Ifueko tailored her message to resonate with young minds. She spoke to students about the importance of making wise choices, adapting to changes, and the strength in seeking help. Her experiences, shared with candor, served as a cautionary tale but also as a beacon of hope, inspiring students to persevere through their own challenges. In religious and community groups, Ifueko's story took on a more spiritual dimension. She talked about the journey of forgiveness and the role faith played in her healing process. Her words in these gatherings often stirred a communal sense of empathy and support, fostering a shared experience of healing and understanding. In corporate environments, Ifueko's narrative shifted to emphasize mental health, work-life balance, and the creation of supportive workspaces. Her personal experiences provided a powerful reminder that challenges know no professional boundaries and that empathy and support are vital in every aspect of life. Public events centered on health and social issues saw Ifueko speaking on broader platforms. She addressed the impacts of addiction and the importance of mental health care, lending a personal perspective to often impersonal statistics and societal discussions. Her honest account brought a human face to these critical issues, bridging gaps and sparking important conversations. As her reputation as an impactful speaker grew, so did the opportunities to share her story through media interviews and appearances. These platforms amplified her reach, allowing her message of resilience and hope to spread far and wide, touching lives beyond her physical reach. With each engagement, Ifueko not only shared her story but also gathered new insights. The questions she was asked, the stories shared with her in return, and the connections she formed enriched her understanding of the myriad ways her experiences resonated with others. This expansion of her reach as a speaker became a journey in itself, a journey of spreading a powerful message, learning from every interaction, and witnessing the transformative power of shared experiences and vulnerability. Her story, which had started as a personal narrative of struggle and redemption, had evolved into a shared tale of hope, resilience, and the enduring human spirit. messages of hope and resilience. As Ifueko's voice echoed across various forums and audiences, the core of her message remained steadfast, a narrative rich with themes of hope, resilience, overcoming adversity, and the transformative power of redemption and community support. Her talks, woven from the threads of her own experiences, became a blend of lessons and inspirations for her listeners. In every address, Ifueko touched upon the theme of overcoming adversity. She shared her journey candidly, from the struggles of adapting to a new culture to the depths of despair she faced during her darkest times. However, the crux of her story was not just about the challenges but about how she navigated through them. She emphasized that adversity, while daunting, is not insurmountable. Her own path served as a testament to this belief, illustrating that with determination and the right mindset, one can emerge stronger from even the toughest of battles. Central to Ifueko's message was the power of redemption. She spoke about how, despite the mistakes and poor choices of her past, she found a way to transform her life. Her story was a living example that it is never too late to change one's path, to make amends, and to seek a better, more fulfilling future. She inspired her audiences with the idea that everyone has the capacity for change and that redemption is a journey that starts with a single step of courage and self-acknowledgement. Another vital element in Ifueko's talks was the importance of community support in personal journeys. She often recounted how the unwavering support from her sister Aisosa, her family, and the broader community played a crucial role in her recovery and success. She highlighted that while individual resilience is key, the strength gained from being part of a supportive community can be a powerful force in overcoming life's hurdles. Her experiences underscored the value of seeking help, of being open to the support of others, and the significance of being part of a community that uplifts and sustains its members. Ifueko also touched upon the theme of hope, a beacon that had guided her through her darkest hours. She spoke of hope not as a vague concept but as a tangible force that propels individuals forward. In sharing her story, she aimed to ignite that spark of hope in others, to encourage them to envision a better future despite their current struggles. Through her speeches, Ifueko did more than just share her life story. She imparted lessons that resonated with her audiences regardless of their backgrounds or experiences. Her messages of hope, resilience, redemption, and the power of community support transcended personal narratives, becoming universal themes that inspired and empowered those who heard her. Her journey became a source of motivation, encouraging others to embrace their struggles, to seek support, and to believe in the possibility of a brighter, more hopeful future. Changing lives through words. Ifueko's foray into public speaking, driven by her own profound journey, swiftly grew into a powerful catalyst for change, touching the lives of her audiences in deeply meaningful ways. Each word she spoke, each story she shared, resonated far beyond the confines of the venues she addressed. The impact of her words was vividly evident in the personal transformations they inspired. After a speech at a high school, a poignant moment unfolded when a young student approached Ifueko. With tears in her eyes, she shared how hearing Ifueko's story had given her the courage to face her own challenges and seek the help she desperately needed. Instances like these were not just affirmations of Ifueko's impact but also poignant reminders of the power of shared experiences. The feedback from her audiences was overwhelmingly positive and heartfelt. People from various walks of life expressed a newfound sense of hope and resilience after hearing Ifueko speak. Her raw honesty and vulnerability struck a chord, making her story a mirror in which others saw their own struggles and aspirations. Beyond individual stories, Ifueko's speeches began to sow seeds of community and understanding. In places where she spoke, there was a noticeable increase in conversations around mental health, cultural integration, and the importance of supportive communities. Her openness in discussing her journey encouraged others to share their stories, fostering environments of empathy and collective support. Ifueko's role gradually extended beyond that of a storyteller to that of an advocate. She brought critical social issues to the forefront, using her platform to raise awareness and inspire action. Her talks shed light on often overlooked aspects of mental health, addiction recovery, and the challenges and rewards of cultural transitions. Each speaking engagement was also a moment of reflection and growth for Ifueko herself. The feedback, the stories shared by audience members, and the visible impact of her words provided her with new perspectives and deepened her understanding of the diverse blend of human experiences. This interaction was a source of continuous learning and motivation, enriching her journey and reinforcing her commitment to her mission. Ifueko's journey in public speaking transformed into a journey of collective healing and inspiration. Her words, imbued with her experiences and insights, rippled through her audiences, sparking change, fostering empathy, and knitting together a community of shared stories and resilience. Her voice, once a medium to share her own story, had become a beacon of hope and a testament to the transformative power of embracing and sharing one's experience. Reflection and growth. Ifueko's evolution as a public speaker was as much a journey of personal growth as it was about sharing her story with others. With each speaking engagement, she found herself growing in confidence and discovering new facets of her own resilience and strength. Initially, standing before an audience filled Ifueko with a sense of trepidation. The vulnerability required to share her story with all its shadows and light was daunting. Yet, with each word she spoke, with every pair of eyes that locked with hers in understanding, Ifueko felt a growing sense of purpose and empowerment. The nervousness that once gripped her gave way to a poised assurance, a testament to her growing confidence. Each engagement brought with it new lessons and insights. Ifueko learned the art of storytelling, not just in conveying her experiences, but in connecting with the hearts and minds of her audience. She became adept at tailoring her message, ensuring it resonated whether she was speaking to students, professionals, or community members. This ability to adapt her message was crucial in extending its impact. The more Ifueko spoke, the more she realized the power of vulnerability. Sharing her deepest pains and triumphs allowed her to forge genuine connections with her audience. This openness not only facilitated healing in others but became a source of healing for herself. Speaking about her journey became a therapeutic experience, helping her to process and reflect on her own life. Perhaps the most profound change was in how Ifueko began to see herself. No longer just a survivor of her past, she emerged as an advocate, a beacon of hope and resilience. Her story, once a personal narrative, became a shared one, reflecting the universal themes of struggle, strength, and the relentless pursuit of redemption. Through her journey as a speaker, Ifueko transcended her own story. She became a voice for those who had faced adversity, an embodiment of the belief that every individual has the power to overcome their challenges and reshape their destiny. Her evolution as a speaker was a mirror to her personal growth, a journey from silence to expression, from turmoil to tranquility, and from fear to unshakable courage. A ripple effect. The orphanage's influence. As Ifueko's orphanage took root, its influence began to ripple through the community in profound and unexpected ways. It wasn't just a sanctuary for the children it sheltered, but evolved into a beacon of hope and a catalyst for change in the broader community. The orphanage, nestled in the heart of the community, quickly became more than a mere shelter for its young residents. It offered a safe haven, a place where children, once adrift in the uncertainties of life, found stability, care, and love. This nurturing environment allowed them to blossom, to rediscover joy and embrace the possibilities of a brighter future. Beyond providing a home, the orphanage placed a strong emphasis on education. Classrooms buzzed with energy and enthusiasm as volunteers and educators worked tirelessly to provide these children with the knowledge and skills they needed. This focus on learning extended beyond the orphanage's walls, underscoring the importance of education within the entire community. The impact of the orphanage was also felt in the way it brought the community together. Local residents, businesses, and even distant onlookers were drawn into its fold, contributing in ways big and small. It became a collective effort, a project that belonged to everyone and benefited all. People donated books, clothes, their time, and expertise, knitting the community into a tight-knit fabric of support and care. Cultural events and celebrations at the orphanage became community highlights, drawing in people from all walks of life. These gatherings were more than just festivities. They were vibrant exchanges of culture and unity, strengthening the community's bond and sense of identity. Perhaps the most significant change, however, was in the shift of attitudes within the community. The orphanage stood as a testament to empathy, kindness, and the power of collective action. It inspired a new wave of community spirit, encouraging individuals to look out for each other and to extend a helping hand wherever needed. The transformation brought about by the orphanage was a reflection of Ifueko's vision and the community's willingness to embrace it. It became a symbol of what can be achieved when compassion leads the way, changing not just the lives of the children it sheltered but also weaving a blend of hope, unity, and resilience in the community it served. Ifueko's speaking legacy. Ifueko's journey as a public speaker had a profound impact far beyond the walls of the venues she graced. With each engagement, her story, imbued with the raw honesty of her experiences, began to reshape societal attitudes and raise awareness on critical issues. As she traversed various platforms, from intimate community halls to larger conferences, Ifueko's narrative resonated deeply with diverse audiences. Her talks, often laced with personal anecdotes of struggle and triumph, became a powerful vehicle for change. She didn't just recount her story, she connected it to broader societal issues, making her audience reflect on themes like mental health, the importance of community support, and the power of resilience. The ripple effect of her words was tangible. In educational institutions, her story prompted discussions about cultural integration, peer pressure, and the importance of seeking help in times of distress. Students and educators alike were moved by her candidness, leading to the formation of support groups and mental health initiatives in several schools. In corporate settings, Ifueko's engagements brought to the forefront the often neglected conversation about work-life balance and mental well-being in high-pressure environments. Her talks inspired companies to reevaluate their mental health policies and foster a more supportive workplace culture. Her impact was perhaps most significant in community settings. Here, Ifueko's story of redemption and the role of community support in her journey resonated powerfully. It encouraged individuals to look out for each other, to be more empathetic, and to foster a sense of collective responsibility for each other's well-being. Moreover, Ifueko's engagements often turned into platforms for advocacy. She highlighted the need for better resources for mental health, addiction recovery, and support systems for immigrants. Her story inspired not just empathy but action, leading to increased volunteerism and community-driven initiatives. In sharing her journey, Ifueko's legacy became one of inspiration and societal change. Her words didn't just echo in the halls where she spoke, they initiated conversations, sparked action, and fostered a deeper understanding of complex social issues. Through her speaking engagements, Ifueko not only shared her life but also contributed to shaping a more compassionate, aware, and supportive society. A ripple effect. The orphanage's influence. As Ifueko's orphanage took root, its influence began to ripple through the community in profound and unexpected ways. It wasn't just a sanctuary for the children it sheltered but evolved into a beacon of hope and a catalyst for change in the broader community. The orphanage, nestled in the heart of the community, quickly became more than a mere shelter for its young residents. It offered a safe haven, a place where children, once adrift in the uncertainties of life, found stability, care, and love. This nurturing environment allowed them to blossom, to rediscover joy and embrace the possibilities of a brighter future. Beyond providing a home, the orphanage placed a strong emphasis on education. Classrooms buzzed with energy and enthusiasm as volunteers and educators worked tirelessly to provide these children with the knowledge and skills they needed. This focus on learning extended beyond the orphanage's walls, underscoring the importance of education within the entire community. The impact of the orphanage was also felt in the way it brought the community together. Local residents, businesses, and even distant onlookers were drawn into its fold, contributing in ways big and small. It became a collective effort, a project that belonged to everyone and benefited all. People donated books, clothes, their time, and expertise, knitting the community into a tight-knit fabric of support and care. Cultural events and celebrations at the orphanage became community highlights, drawing in people from all walks of life. These gatherings were more than just festivities, they were vibrant exchanges of culture and unity, strengthening the community's bond and sense of identity. Perhaps the most significant change, however, was in the shift of attitudes within the community. The orphanage stood as a testament to empathy, kindness, and the power of collective action. It inspired a new wave of community spirit, encouraging individuals to look out for each other and to extend a helping hand wherever needed. The transformation brought about by the orphanage was a reflection of Ifueko's vision and the community's willingness to embrace it. It became a symbol of what can be achieved when compassion leads the way, changing not just the lives of the children it sheltered, but also weaving a blend of hope, unity, and resilience in the community it served. Ifueko's speaking legacy. Ifueko's journey as a public speaker had a profound impact far beyond the walls of the venues she graced. With each engagement, her story, imbued with the raw honesty of her experiences, began to reshape societal attitudes and raise awareness on critical issues. As she traversed various platforms, from intimate community halls to larger conferences, Ifueko's narrative resonated deeply with diverse audiences. Her talks, often laced with personal anecdotes of struggle and triumph, became a powerful vehicle for change. She didn't just recount her story, she connected it to broader societal issues, making her audience reflect on themes like mental health, the importance of community support, and the power of resilience. The ripple effect of her words was tangible. In educational institutions, her story prompted discussions about cultural integration, peer pressure, and the importance of seeking help in times of distress. Students and educators alike were moved by her candidness, leading to the formation of support groups and mental health initiatives in several schools. In corporate settings, Ifueko's engagements brought to the forefront the often neglected conversation about work-life balance and mental well-being in high-pressure environments. Her talks inspired companies to reevaluate their mental health policies and foster a more supportive workplace culture. Her impact was perhaps most significant in community settings. Here, Ifueko's story of redemption and the role of community support in her journey resonated powerfully. It encouraged individuals to look out for each other, to be more empathetic, and to foster a sense of collective responsibility for each other's well-being. Moreover, Ifueko's engagements often turned into platforms for advocacy. She highlighted the need for better resources for mental health, addiction recovery, and support systems for immigrants. Her story inspired not just empathy but action, leading to increased volunteerism and community-driven initiatives. In sharing her journey, Ifueko's legacy became one of inspiration and societal change. Her words didn't just echo in the halls where she spoke, they initiated conversations, sparked action, and fostered a deeper understanding of complex social issues. Through her speaking engagements, Ifueko not only shared her life but also contributed to shaping a more compassionate, aware, and supportive society. The community's response. The actions of Ifueko and Aisosa, fueled by their dedication and compassion, catalyzed a remarkable transformation within their community. Their efforts in establishing the orphanage, conducting public speaking engagements, and leading educational workshops ignited a culture of empathy and support that permeated throughout the community. This newfound culture was evident in the way community members began to interact with each other. Inspired by the sisters' example, people started to look out for their neighbors, lending a helping hand without hesitation. The change was subtle yet profound. Small acts of kindness became more frequent, and a sense of mutual care and responsibility took root in the community. The orphanage itself became a focal point of this supportive culture. It was no longer seen as just a haven for children in need but as a community project that everyone took pride in. Volunteers from all walks of life stepped forward to contribute, whether it was through teaching, mentoring the children, or helping with day-to-day activities. The orphanage's events and celebrations drew in large crowds, not just to enjoy but to participate and contribute, further strengthening the sense of community. In schools and workplaces, the impact of the sisters' initiatives on mental health and wellness led to more open conversations about these often stigmatized topics. People felt more comfortable discussing their challenges and seeking help, knowing they would be met with understanding and support. This shift marked a significant step towards destigmatizing mental health issues and fostering a more compassionate and empathetic environment. Additionally, the sisters' focus on education and empowerment led to the formation of various community groups and initiatives. From health awareness campaigns to cultural integration programs, these initiatives were driven by the community for the community. They embodied the spirit of collective effort and shared responsibility, principles that Ifueko and Aisosa had always advocated. The sisters' actions and the community's response created a virtuous cycle of support and empathy. The community's transformation was a testament to the power of compassionate leadership and the impact it can have in fostering a culture of support and understanding. Ifueko and Aisosa's legacy was thus cemented not just in the tangible projects they initiated but in the enduring spirit of empathy, cooperation, and communal strength they inspired in their community. Reflecting on the journey, from turmoil to triumph. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city, Ifueko and Aisosa found themselves seated in their childhood garden, a place brimming with memories. In the tranquility of this familiar setting, they delved into a reflective dialogue, a journey through their shared past of turmoil and triumph. Aisosa broke the silence, her voice tinged with wonder. "Can you believe how far we've come from those days of uncertainty?" It was a rhetorical question, one that hung in the air, heavy with the weight of memories. Ifueko, gazing at the blooming flowers around them, replied softly, "Those days seem like a different lifetime now. The challenges, the pain, the feeling of being lost, it all feels distant, yet it's a part of us." Aisosa nodded, her thoughts drifting back to the struggles they had faced. "We've had our share of storms, haven't we? But look at us now, stronger, wiser, and together." There was a note of pride in her voice, not for the achievements, but for the resilience they had shown. Ifueko smiled, her eyes reflecting a sense of peace. Indeed, the journey wasn't easy, but every step was worth it. The orphanage, my speaking engagements, your work in medicine and community health, all of it has been a testament to our growth. The orphanage, Aisosa mused, it's become more than just a shelter. It is a symbol of hope, not just for the children but for the entire community. And your talks, they've touched so many lives, Ifueko. Ifueko's eyes gleamed with a mixture of humility and satisfaction. I never imagined my story could inspire others. It's been a healing process, speaking out loud about our trials and triumphs. And don't forget how you've inspired me, too, Aisosa added, reaching out to squeeze her sister's hand. Your strength gave me courage, your resilience, a blueprint to follow. The sisters sat in comfortable silence for a moment, each lost in their thoughts, reflecting on the paths they had tread. It was a journey that had taken them from the depths of despair to the heights of fulfillment, a journey marked by unwavering sisterly support and the strength to transform adversity into opportunity. Finally, as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Ifueko spoke, her voice filled with hope. Our journey has been about more than just overcoming challenges. It has been about learning, growing, and finding our purpose. And the best part? Our story isn't over yet. Aisosa smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Yes, our story continues, and I can't wait to see where it takes us next. Their journey from turmoil to triumph was a narrative of hope, resilience, and the unbreakable bond of sisterhood, a narrative that was still being written. Overcoming personal challenges. As Ifueko and Aisosa continued their reflective conversation under the starlit sky, their talk naturally veered towards the personal challenges they had each faced and overcome. It was a journey marked by resilience, a quality they had both come to embody in their own unique ways. Ifueko spoke first, her voice tinged with a mix of reflection and strength. Looking back, I see a young girl who was lost, trying to find her place in a new world. The challenges I faced after moving to Canada, they pushed me to the edge. But in that darkness, I found a strength I didn't know I had. The path to recovery, setting up the orphanage, becoming a speaker, each step was a lesson in resilience. I learned that no matter how deep you fall, there's always a way to rise again. Aisosa nodded, her eyes filled with empathy and understanding. Your journey has been inspiring, Ifueko. For me, the challenges were different but no less significant. Balancing my career in medicine with our personal struggles, especially when you were going through your darkest times, was overwhelming. But it taught me the importance of balance, of taking care of myself so I could be there for others. It was a lesson in setting boundaries and finding strength in vulnerability. Ifueko reached out, her hand resting gently on Aisosa's. You've always been my rock, Aisosa. Your steadiness and your unwavering support were my beacons of hope. Aisosa smiled softly. And you, Ifueko, were my inspiration. Watching you transform your life showed me the true power of resilience. It's not just about weathering the storm, it's about learning to dance in the rain. Their shared experiences, though different in nature, had a common thread, the power of resilience. For Ifueko, it was about rising from the ashes of her past, about turning pain into purpose. For Aisosa, it was about maintaining her strength in the face of adversity, about being a support system while also nurturing her own aspirations. Their conversation was a testament to the lessons they had learned, that resilience is not innate but cultivated, that challenges can be turned into opportunities for growth, and that strength often lies in the most unexpected places. These lessons of resilience were not just their armor against past challenges but also their guide for the journey ahead, a journey they were ready to continue together, fortified by their experiences and their unbreakable bond. Dreams reimagined. As the night deepened, Ifueko and Aisosa's conversation turned towards the future, reflecting on how their past experiences had reshaped their aspirations and dreams. The trials they had endured had not only transformed them but had also given them a new perspective on what they hoped to achieve in the years to come. Ifueko, with a thoughtful look in her eyes, shared her evolving vision. Once, my dream was to find a sense of belonging and purpose. Now, having established the orphanage and touched lives through my speaking, my dream has grown. I want to expand the outreach of the orphanage to make it a model for holistic child care and education. But beyond that, I see myself advocating for social change, using my story to influence policies and create a wider impact. Aisosa, inspired by her sister's vision, shared her own reimagined dreams. My journey in medicine has been fulfilling, but now I see a broader scope for my work. I dream of establishing a community health initiative that goes beyond treating illnesses. I want to focus on preventive care, mental health, and overall well-being, especially in underserved communities. There's so much potential to make a lasting impact on public health. The sisters' new goals were not just extensions of their personal growth but also reflections of their desire to contribute more meaningfully to society. Their dreams, once focused on overcoming personal challenges, now encompassed a larger vision of service and impact. Their conversation was not just about setting new goals, it was about the realization that their experiences had equipped them with unique insights and strengths to achieve these aspirations. They understood that their journeys had prepared them to take on bigger challenges and to make a more significant impact in their community and beyond. As they spoke of their reimagined dreams, there was a sense of excitement and determination in their voices. They were no longer just survivors of their past, they were visionaries looking to the future, ready to leverage their experiences, knowledge, and passion to make a difference in the world. The night slowly gave way to the first light of dawn, symbolizing the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. For Ifueko and Aisosa, their reimagined dreams were not just plans for the future, they were promises to themselves and to the world, promises of hope, service, and relentless pursuit of making the world a better place. The bond strengthened. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, Ifueko and Aisosa found themselves reflecting on a profound aspect of their journey, the way it had fortified the bond within their family. This journey, with its highs and lows, had not only brought them closer as sisters but had also deepened their connection with their parents and the broader sense of what family meant to them. If I think about it, Ifueko began, her voice soft but clear, our struggles and triumphs didn't just change us individually, they reshaped our family. We've learned to lean on each other, to understand each other's strengths and vulnerabilities. It's as if these experiences have woven us together more tightly than ever before. Aisosa nodded in agreement, the early morning light reflecting in her eyes. Absolutely. Remember how we used to clash with our parents over our choices and beliefs? Now, it feels like we've found a new way to communicate and understand each other. It's like going through the storm together has given us a new appreciation for one another. They both recalled the countless conversations, shared moments of uncertainty, and the collective joy in each other's accomplishments. These experiences had bridged gaps that once seemed insurmountable, creating a newfound closeness and appreciation. It's more than just us though, Aisosa added thoughtfully. Our journey has also changed the way we see and value family beyond our home. The children at the orphanage, the people we've met through our work, they've become a part of our extended family. Our definition of family has expanded, embracing those around us in our community. Ifueko smiled, a sense of contentment in her voice. That's true. Our family has grown in ways we never expected. It's amazing how adversity can sometimes be the catalyst for such profound connection and understanding. As they sat there, watching the sky turn a pale shade of blue, they realized that their family had become both their anchor and their compass. It was their family bond that had given them the strength to face challenges, the courage to pursue their dreams, and the foundation on which they built their newfound purpose. The journey they had embarked on had not just been about individual growth or societal contribution, it had been about strengthening the very core of their existence, their family. And as they looked to the future, it was this strengthened bond that they knew would continue to guide them, inspire them, and provide them with the love and support to navigate whatever lay ahead. Looking to the future. As the dawn ushered in a new day, Ifueko and Aisosa, amidst the serene backdrop of their childhood garden, turned their conversation towards the future. It was a discussion filled with hope, anticipation, and a sense of boundless possibility, subtly laying the groundwork for what might come next in their story. Ifueko, with a reflective yet determined gaze, shared her vision for the days ahead. I feel like we've only just begun. There's so much more we can do, so many more lives we can touch. I see the orphanage not just as a safe haven for children but as a starting point for broader social change. I dream of expanding its reach, perhaps even replicating its model in other communities. Her words were not just mere aspirations but a hint at the expansive plans she harbored for the future. The success of the orphanage had sown in her a seed of ambition to amplify her impact on a larger scale. Aisosa, equally forward-looking, spoke of her own aspirations. And I want to build on the health initiatives we've started. There's a real opportunity to make lasting changes in public health, especially in preventive care and mental wellness. Maybe even establish a health foundation that can drive these initiatives forward. Their plans, ambitious yet grounded in the reality of their experiences, spoke of a future that was both exciting and filled with purpose. They envisioned not just continuing their current endeavors but expanding them, using their knowledge, resources, and passion to effect even greater change. The sisters also spoke of maintaining and strengthening their bond, recognizing that their relationship was the cornerstone of their strength. No matter where our dreams take us, our journey together as a family will always be at the heart of it all, Ifueko said, her hand clasping Aisosa's. Aisosa smiled, her eyes alight with excitement. Exactly. And who knows what other adventures lie ahead of us? This statement hung in the air, filled with promise and anticipation, subtly leaving the door open for more stories to be told, for their journey to continue in new and unforeseen directions. As they rose to greet the day, the sisters looked forward with a sense of optimism and readiness. Their past had shaped them, their present was vibrant and fulfilling, and their future was a canvas of possibilities. The stage was set not just for the continuation of their impactful work but also for new adventures that would further weave the blend of their extraordinary lives. Conclusion. A promise of continuance. Leaving a legacy. Ifueko and Aisosa, in their journey together, had unwittingly begun to weave a legacy, one that extended far beyond their individual lives and deeply into the fabric of their community. Their actions, born out of a desire to overcome personal challenges and contribute to the greater good, had set in motion a series of changes that would endure for years to come. Ifueko's establishment of the orphanage had created a sanctuary for children in need, but its impact was far-reaching. It became a symbol of hope and resilience, not just for the children it sheltered but for the entire community. The orphanage's success inspired similar initiatives in neighboring areas, spreading the vision of providing a loving and nurturing environment for the less fortunate. Ifueko's journey had also made her a beacon of inspiration through her public speaking, encouraging countless individuals to face their struggles with courage and hope. Aisosa's contributions, both within the walls of the hospital and beyond, had a profound effect on public health awareness in the community. Her efforts in organizing health camps and awareness programs had raised the overall health literacy of the community, leading to better health outcomes and a greater emphasis on preventive care. Her advocacy for mental health and well-being had begun to break down the stigmas surrounding these issues, fostering a more open and supportive dialogue. Together, the sisters had also championed various educational initiatives empowering the youth and adults alike with knowledge and skills that transcended traditional learning. They had created a culture of continuous learning and self-improvement, which had become a cornerstone of their community's identity. The most significant legacy of Ifueko and Aisosa, however, lay in the culture of empathy and support they had nurtured. Their story had encouraged others to look beyond their own needs to extend a hand of support to those around them. The community had become more cohesive, more resilient, and more compassionate, a community that came together to support its members in times of need. As they looked to the future, Ifueko and Aisosa knew that the legacy they were leaving was not just about the tangible changes they had brought about. It was about the intangible spirit of hope, resilience, and community they had instilled, a legacy that would continue to inspire and shape lives long after their own stories had been told. Their journey had proven that individual actions, however small they may seem, can have a profound impact on the world, leaving a lasting legacy of positive change. A message of hope. Ifueko and Aisosa's story, a blend of struggles and triumphs, had become a profound message of hope and inspiration, not just for their contemporaries but for future generations. As they reflected on their journey, they realized that the lessons and values they had embodied were timeless, capable of inspiring and guiding those who would come after them. Their narrative was one of resilience in the face of adversity, a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome even the most daunting challenges. They had shown that it's possible to emerge from the depths of despair and rebuild a life filled with purpose and joy. This message was particularly powerful for young people, providing them with a living example that no obstacle was insurmountable. The sisters had also exemplified the importance of compassion, both for oneself and for others. They taught that empathy was a strength, not a weakness, and that extending a helping hand could not only transform the lives of the recipients but also enrich the giver's life. This lesson in compassion and empathy was a vital one for future generations, fostering a more caring and connected society. Furthermore, Ifueko and Aisosa's journey underscored the value of community and support systems. They had shown that while individual effort was crucial, the support of family, friends, and the wider community was indispensable in the journey of recovery and growth. This message highlighted the importance of building and maintaining strong support networks, a lesson invaluable for future generations navigating the complexities of modern life. Their story was also a powerful reminder of the potential within each person to effect positive change in the world. The sisters had started with a desire to improve their own lives but ended up making a significant impact on their community and beyond. This narrative of turning personal challenges into opportunities for broader social impact was a source of inspiration, encouraging future generations to look beyond their circumstances and strive to make a difference. In sharing their story, Ifueko and Aisosa hoped to leave behind a legacy of hope, resilience, and compassion. Their message to future generations was clear: no matter the challenges you face, you have the strength to overcome them. Your actions can create ripples of positive change, and your journey, no matter how difficult, can be a beacon of hope for others. Their story was not just their own, it was a message for the future, a beacon guiding the way for generations to come. An open path. Setting the stage. As the sisters sat in the dawning light, their conversation naturally drifted towards the new chapters unfolding in their lives, chapters that were as filled with hope and possibility as they were with uncertainty and anticipation. Aisosa, with a gentle smile, shared her news first. "I'm getting married," she said, her eyes shining with a mix of joy and nervous excitement. "Femi and I have decided to start our journey together. It's a new adventure, one that I'm both thrilled and anxious about. I wonder what the future holds for us, for the impact we can make together." Ifueko's face lit up with happiness for her sister, yet her own heart was tangled in a web of hopeful anticipation and lingering questions. "And she began hesitantly, "I've met someone too." His name is Emeka, and he's been a wonderful support, especially with the orphanage. We're taking things slow, but it feels right." Her voice trailed off, and for a moment she was lost in thought. The air around them was thick with unspoken questions and possibilities. Ifueko's journey had been marked by her struggle with infertility, a shadow that had lingered long in her heart. "Do you think," she whispered, almost to herself, "that there might still be a chance for me? To start a family of my own?" The question hung in the air, a poignant mix of hope and uncertainty. It was a deeply personal longing, one that had remained unspoken until now. Aisosa reached out, taking Ifueko's hand in hers. "Ifueko, if there's anything we've learned, it's that life is full of surprises. Who knows what miracles the future might hold?" Their conversation, filled with revelations and reflections, left the door open to myriad possibilities. As they stood up, ready to embrace the day and all that it might bring, the path ahead was open and unwritten. The possibilities were endless: marriages, new adventures, perhaps even the miracle of a family for Ifueko. The future was a canvas yet to be painted, inviting readers to wonder, to hope, and to imagine what might come next in the extraordinary lives of Ifueko and Aisosa.